To many, the road is a calling. To a select few, the road is a lifestyle. A place where they live and work as they journey through some of the most incredible landscape on Earth. Testing themselves and each other. Now, like never before, experience life inside and outside the peloton. As cycling's greatest, grant access to their inner circle, all while trying to conquer one of the most incredible races ever conceived. This is the all-access mini-series USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy. Despite its finite nature, time is a very fluid concept. For any second can feel very different to any two people. TJ Van Garderen believes that from the moment he crossed this line to the moment Christian Van der Velde did, measured 1 second or more. Therefore, they shouldn't have been given the exact same time, and that this jersey should still be his. But instead, the clock never ticked. And Van der Velde was given the jersey for finishing a fraction of a second ahead 1 day later. Outside Team BMC's hotel, as TJ Van Garderen enjoys time with his wife and man's best friend, he has little hope that his protest will result in the leader's jersey.
You never see any protest or anything get overturned. It's more just it's more of just a formality to make them aware that they need to pay more attention next time. But I've seen so many protests and none of them ever stick, so I don't expect anything to happen there.
Come on, Nathan. Thank you.
Good in yellow.
Just like the fans said, there's no doubt Van der Velde believes he looks good in yellow, one colour that matches everyone's cycling attire.
Look, Christian, nice to look, man.
Here at the Stage 4 start line, BMC Racing Team receives breaking news, and it's not in their favour.
I asked officials to review the Crested Butte stage, and they did, and their ruling was that they were all on the same time, and they're the officials, they're the ones in charge, so it's their, that's their ruling. I accept that. We rode from very start to very finish. We tried to save the jersey. We lost the jersey based on a point system, and so it wasn't on time or anything. So, yeah, we're fine. I mean, the guys rode fantastic. Every team did their own race, and we did our race, and we did the best we could, which is what we do every day. Right now, they're tied on time, Christian and TJ, and we'll just go forward. They have the jersey, and they have to defend.
At the Garmin Sharp compound, the team takes the news in stride and hold firm to the belief that despite currently having the race leader, teamwork is what it will take to beat the dangerous Van Garderen.
Well, I mean, as I've said, TJ remains the strongest rider in the race, but we have to be the most intelligent team in the race in order to unseat that.
Yesterday really wasn't about, us versus one specific person. It was really us just learning how to activate really well as a team and accomplish a goal that we set out ahead of time.
All stars. Let's do it.
What up, Dave?
Good morning.
Per usual, Dave Z and other riders get a rock star's welcome.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks, David.
Not today.
After 3 stages, 355 miles and 26,919 feet of elevation, the peloton embarks for a day that will carry them through America's highest incorporated city at 10,000 feet. They'll traverse the Continental Divide and total nearly 100 miles. And in order to do that, a few hours ago, they needed to start the day off right. In motorsports, special blends of high-octane fuel are used. They're used to prime engines and maximize wattage. In cycling, fuel comes from more organic forms, but the desired effect is the same. Hour by hour, fuel has become more and more crucial, giving a whole new meaning to the most important meal of the day.
Age on the way?
Yeah,
I like the neutral.
Yeah.
A little warm up.
They're so mild here, like compared to
Belgium. About, I would say 1,500 calories for breakfast, give or take. A lot of times, like, you don't even really feel like eating because you eat a lot on the bike and your stomach might be a little turned. So,
especially if it's hot out.
yeah, sometimes it's actually hard to eat
Yeah.
enough. So, that's some of the challenge too.
I'm a pretty big oatmeal fan myself. And kind of change the flavors up every day, make it a little different, but
Yeah, I like
it's good
oatmeal.
for me.
Oatmeal, eggs, usually. Morning of a race.
Over there somewhere, or right before
Like just
the
something kind of simple, you know? That way you just kind of have like a routine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and coffee. He's not talking about the profile.
Oh, I thought you were talking about into the stage. No. Oh. I was like, so we basically just turn around and go out the way we came back down.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be on that climb till 2. It's gonna be a hard start.
Yeah.
It's definitely the harder side too, you know? Like steeper coming out of Aspen, so.
How you feeling? How you feeling today?
Oh, not too bad. Pretty tired from yesterday, though. Definitely, that was a long day on the bike. But, yeah, ready for today's stage.
Coming up, as the race approaches America's highest town, altitude takes its toll.
Came unstuck, really. It was the climb.
When the USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy, continues. "97 miles lie between Aspen and Beaver Creek, and none of them are easy. But that doesn't stop fan favourite Jens Voigt from launching an early attack. The 40-year-old German rider has made a noteworthy career out of solo efforts like this one. Already 4 minutes behind, the peloton pursuit is lackluster, as Voigt is no threat to the two men virtually tied for the lead. Christian van der Velde's main concern is the long list of dangerous riders behind him, all of whom would like to have his jersey. No one more so than TJ van Garderen, who makes a point of moving up to shadow van der Velde. It's days like this when rivalries are born. For once words are spoken, they are impossible to erase. For the two leaders and the rest of the peloton, their greatest foe may end up being the altitude.
The epic mountain passes that the whole world sees and they think about when they think about the Rocky Mountains in Colorado and the high altitude climbing. This is the pinnacle of it, really.
The race really explores all kinds of different areas at very high elevation, and that really makes a different beast, a different animal of a race.
I think racing at 12,000 feet is something pretty special.
I mean, the altitude's always going to be a factor in this race. Some people can deal with it, some people can't.
It's brutal for everyone. No matter who you are, you're going to suffer like a dog that high.
A lot of guys, they respond differently to it, and it affects you very differently.
It's very hard for altitude, and us who don't come from Colorado, it takes a lot of time to adapt to the race, effectively over 3,000 meters.
Going over 12,000 feet, I mean, it's beastly. It's who physiologically can do it. Some people tend to do really well at altitude. The people who do well at altitude and can climb well, it's sort of in the bag for them.
Even though altitude doesn't seem to be much of a problem for Jens Voigt, for others, this is not the case. And the broom wagon sweeps those who fail to meet the cutoff time at the bottom of Independence Pass.
Okay.
Not a good feeling. Like, you try and keep going. I went to the top of the climb, but yeah, I was that far behind that they basically said, yeah, you got to get in the car. So it's not great, but it's been a long season for me, and I think it's sort of caught up. here in the high altitude, when you come from sea level, that's if you're not used to be in a high altitude, when you go over your limit, then you cannot recover so fast as in the sea level, and your whole body not want begins from breathing. Okay, a little bit muscle. You feel a little bit dizzy also when you have not so much oxygen. That's the biggest problem. You have not so much oxygen, and your whole body is getting crazy. So you always have to be careful with your efforts you do. And yeah, today I was going a little bit over my limit, and then I blew up.
While others struggle, Voigt soon passes through Leadville, a city at a staggering 10,000 feet with a long Wild West history, including being home to Doc Holliday, who would have likely appreciated an escape like this one. 2 minutes later, an elite chase group led by Peter Stettner arrives, as Garmin Sharp once again maintains their presence in an important breakaway, which means by the time the peloton arrives a full 4 minutes after Voigt, BMC now has to help drive the tempo in order to make sure one of their rivals doesn't gain too much time. Coming up, riders on the storm as the breakaway artist tries to hold on.
I put on some fireworks in order to hang on to their position.
When the USA Pro Race of Truth presented by Exergy continues. In order to succeed for a breakaway win, a rider must choose the right day, the right time, and have all the determination in the world. And that pretty much sums up 40-year-old Jens Voigt. In order to win an entire race, however, it takes a team and strong tactics. Axel Merckx believes the Garmin Sharp strategy, work hard, is a wise one.
Garmin is trying to get BMC to work the whole day, so they try to weaken them out, and BMC can manage to stay in that position until Saturday. I think it's pretty much a done deal for the race. So every team is trying to play their cards, and I think the smartest one in the whole bunch is Levi, because nobody's talking about Levi, but he hasn't had to work one bit, and he's not going to get dropped, I think, on Flagstaff, and he's one of the best time trialists too, so I think he's still in very good positioning to at least podium.
Whether defending champion Levi Leipheimer will be able to make a big move this weekend is unclear. Is that Merckx's squad of young riders, including best young rider overall Joe Dombrowski, haven't been afraid to mix it up with their heroes.
In these races, you get that exposure to these top guys, and you can really sort of glean a lot from just being around them and, you know, watching them race.
My first race that I watched on TV had most of these riders in there, and now I'm racing with them. It's pretty crazy, and I'm only 20.
It's crazy riding with all these guys I've seen growing up my entire life, racing with Levi and all the big guns.
We have races like Tour of Utah, USA Pro Challenge. These are events that inspire and create the next generation and gives them a chance to compete with some of the world's best riders.
It's really exciting for our program to get invites into these big American races like Colorado, because it offers us that opportunity to ride with some of the best guys in the world.
I'm talking about Jens Voigt or Peter Velits on my team.
Just to be able to ride with guys like Jens Voigt and see how they ride and learn from them, and just to hang out with some of the big names in cycling is really cool.
Riding with Cadel, George Hincapie, Jens Voigt is definitely surreal.
It's a pretty special experience to be able to do that. It's cool because I look up to him and now I'm racing with him.
It sort of gives us a way of looking at, you know, what that disparity in ability levels is really like.
For a young kid in the U.S., what's going to inspire them?
There's no doubt those young riders have been inspired, and on this day, as the peloton comes back together, they are amongst those trying to track down one of their heroes. 4 minutes after Jens Voigt, the peloton steamrolls across Red Cliff Bridge above Eagle River. These are the kinds of images that define professional cycling, for they give context to the true scope of the journey and the incredible fortitude of each rider. 40-year-old Voigt is a prime example of that attribute, and despite his age, his work ethic remains undiminished.
Cycling is a sport where, in general speaking, more is better. More training, more miles, more suffering in training is better, makes you better. And when you're younger, you think, oh, I have talent, I can do this and this and that, and you're distracted. When you get older, you don't know. There's no shortcut, there's no secret. It's discipline, you know, dedication, hard work.
Thoughts like that have long made Voigt one of the sport's go-to sound bites. And at this point, he may already be thinking of what he would say to reporters if he wins the day. But there are many miles to go. Coming up in the race's second mountaintop finish, for these two men, every second counts. It's a case of who finishes in front of the other claims yellow for tomorrow, when the USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy, continues. On this day, neither the altitude nor rain can stop Jens Voigt. Just round the corner, you may see, is the summit of Battle Mountain. On the descent from Battle Mountain, Voigt's lead nears 4 minutes, while further back, Van der Velde and Van Garderen continue to eye each other. TJ Van Garderen just peeping into our picture there in the red. He has to finish ahead of Van der Velde to take back that jersey. And do you think Jens Voigt cares? You bet your life he doesn't. All he's got to do is finish on that line and receive the adulation of the people of Beaver Creek. I would think this will go down as the most popular victory of the year.
Well, I'll tell you, Phil, that performance today is almost impossible.
Today I was on that break and I thought, okay, I attack now. They're never going to catch me again. It was one of those moments where you go, it was like almost like you had a voice talking to you. It's like, go now, and it will happen.
Within the peloton, the final ascent to Beaver Creek. It's all about the head-to-head battle for the race leader's jersey. As they hit 300 meters to go, TJ Van Garderen in the red, and there's a gap down towards Christian Van der Velde. If TJ can hold on to this position, he will be the leader again. He's over the line in third place, and I think Christian Van der Velde was 5th or 6th.
Phil, did you see the way he looked over his shoulder? He wanted to know where this man was, wearing number 16, Christian Van der Velde. But TJ Van Garderen now knows in his mind he is the new overall leader.
Tough today. It was really freezing out there with that rain. Tried to get some seconds on the finish, but I don't think that happened. But get some time on the other days.
Did it upset you that it was still murking this morning?
It doesn't really upset me. It's just like if you had a problem with it, why didn't you say it the first day? And then all of a sudden when you lose a jersey, then you have a problem with it. It's kind of...
Having the yellow only really matters the last day. And it's going to come down to the time trial if it's at the same time. And so it's really a matter of if you can gain time, it's a big deal for the yellow jersey right now, or if you lost time, it would be a big deal.
TJ is probably one of the strongest riders in the country, if not one in the world right now, you know, and we're going head to head, and there's a lot of strong guys here. So I mean, if we could keep it status quo, I'll be a happy person.
That was hard, but we didn't have to do as much work, so it's nice to sit back and then ride a little bit at the end there for TJ. We tried to make it hard at the bottom, and he got the jersey back, so it's good.
For Leipheimer and all others, only 3 more stages remain.
We need a real uphill finish. I'm happy to sit back and watch BMC and Garmin trade blow for blow and eventually weaken themselves.
Nasty weather, hard start, hard finish, hard day. Nice to meet you.
TJ, can I have your autograph on the back of my hat?
TJ! Way to go. Sorry.
Okay, what's your thank you?
It's
you know, it makes it harder to get to the press conference, but it's also really encouraging to know that people are supporting, so I like it.
Next up for the exuberant 24-year-old is Colorado's Front Range, as Stage 5 continues from Breckenridge to Colorado Springs, where the breakaway artists and the sprinters will look to make their mark. The first major test is a 10-mile climb up Hoosier Pass to 11,500 feet. But if the opportunists can survive that climb, they have a good chance to go for the stage win, with a fast descent and the high mountains in their rear-view mirror.
We do reach some very high altitudes, and that obviously means some long descents. But in the U.S., the roads are much bigger than we have in Europe. Whereas, you know, Europe, you're going down these little twisty, turny and going through practically a cave with no lighting. This is great. This is beautiful to have this, you know, big roads. But
It's going to be hard just because there is a lot of fast downhill, and you have these Colorado canyons, which are usually coming down, and there's not a lot of switchbacks to keep the peloton slow, and so you just keep building the momentum, and before you know it, you're going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour.
As they arrive in Colorado's Front Range, the riders will speed through the Garden of the Gods, home to last year's prologue, before finishing with circuits through downtown Colorado Springs.
That's the one true day for the sprinters.
You could look for some of the sprinters teams to control, but for the GC guys, you still have to be on your toes all the time.
You know, a breakaway might have a good chance there if the leading teams are tired, but you know, that's one of the very few chances in the whole race for a field sprint. So if there's any teams motivated for a sprint, we could see some action from there.
Next, Stage 5 of the USA Pro Challenge begins live on the NBC Sports Network. Boulder, Colorado is the finish of Stage 6 of the USA Pro Challenge. The riders heading to the top of Flagstaff Mountain. It's the penultimate stage with two riders equal on time. But first, let's send it over to New York for the NBC Sports Update. This is TJ Van Garderen in the overall yellow leader's jersey. His advantage after 5 days of racing is the blink of an eyelid. But today the race heads to Boulder and the top of Flagstaff Mountain. It's the hardest finishing climb of the race. It's a state known for its majestic beauty. But for the 103 riders left in this race, it has been no scenic tour of the Colorado Rockies. For the past 5 days, these men have battled staggering altitude and relentless mountain passes on a route that may be beautiful to the eye, but has been ruthless on the legs. This veteran rider was the race's first champion, and back for the second edition, still hopes to defend his title. While a young American who recently took home the Best Young Rider jersey at the Tour de France now rides in yellow as the race's overall leader. But standing in his way is another seasoned pro who shares not only the same overall time, but also the hunger to improve upon his second-place finish in last year's race. Familiar faces lining up for their moment to make history in one of the most competitive cycling races in America. With 683 miles of high speeds, breathtaking scenery and exhilarating battles, only 2 stages remain. With a finishing climb to Flagstaff Mountain ahead on today's Stage 6, the 2012 US Pro Challenge, presented by Exergy, is next. We're looking at the city of Golden here. Welcome to the USA Pro Challenge presented by Exergy. The race is now on its 6th day, and Golden is the starting point on this stage presented by Nissan. A ride of 103 miles. Down in Golden, there's a beautiful statue of last year's winner, Levi Leipheimer. Well, today, Leipheimer and the rest are riding to the top of Flagstaff Mountain above Golden. And when they get there might be 2 riders not equal on time. Hello everybody, welcome to our coverage of the USA Pro Challenge. I'm Phil Liggett, alongside me is Paul Sherwin. Now look, this race started last Monday, but for 4 of the days we've seen so far, Paul, 2 riders equal on time have completely shadowed each other around Colorado.
This week of racing, and to me, maybe it's not just the race that's been so fantastic, it's the views of Colorado, the towns, the Wild West towns of places like Durango, the ski resorts of Beaver Creek. It's been a great race so far.
This has provided us with the most scenic backdrops, I think, even better than the Tour de France. It is a beautiful race indeed. Well, the race has started about 45 minutes ago, and we can show a little bit of the action straight away. These are live pictures. The team of TJ Van Garderen, you can see him tucking into the picture in his yellow jersey, is on the tail of all of his team from the Team BMC Racing, which is an American squad trying to guide him now to a victory in this race when we end tomorrow in the center of Denver. There is a breakaway away. They got away after just about 9 miles of the stage today. Here's some of the names for you. Colorado's a danger man. He's in the breakaway. He's only 42 seconds behind overall. Chris Baldwin is there. The champion of the US, Tim Duggan, is in the breakaway. Alex Howes is coming towards his hometown of Boulder. He's right in there as well. Jens Voigt, the man that won the other day from Germany at Beaver Creek. There's the complete list for you. It is a strong move, this. I think to be expected, though.
Yes, well, it's been pretty much the par ever since we left Durango at the beginning of last week, Phil. There's been a breakaway in the early part of every stage, which has made this race very, very difficult indeed. It's important to remember that this race is all about time, and it's the time that you record on every individual stage which is added together. The rider with the least amount of time at the end of the week is the rider who will win overall. Some of the riders in that breakaway have already lost themselves in excess of half an hour.
Well, we are in Boulder with the main field. These are 2 chasers trying to catch up with those leaders. They are leaving Boulder. Chris Jones just chasing up there as well, along with Joey Roscoff. But the crowd enormous in Boulder, that's for sure, and we will go out on a huge circuit now, and not a flat circuit at all, before they'll come back to Boulder, and then they'll line up for the climb up the climb of Flagstaff Hill to the finish. So the peloton at the moment dragging their heels by 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, I've told you a little bit about the route, but let's go and have a look now at the Evolved Beverages stage map for the whole day.
Well, this is what it looks like. The riders assembling in Golden this morning. That's where they moved away from at around 6,000 feet in altitude, straight out onto the open road and then through Boulder for the first time of the day. Then they climb over the peak of Boulder Canyon up to 8,200 feet in altitude before dropping back down into the very pretty town of Lyons, and then Lee Hill Road, which all the locals tell me is very difficult indeed, but it's all about Flagstaff Mountain at the end where the decisions will happen.
Yes, and I can tell you there is a huge crowd. They've had to walk all the way up the mountain today. No private cars have been allowed. It's so very narrow. It is a beautiful part of the world of Colorado, that is for sure. These are back with the leaders here at the moment. Tim Duggan just sitting at the back there, number 46. He is the new champion of the USA. He rides for an Italian team, the Liquigas Cannondale squad. He'll change teams next year, and he'll ride for an American setup. And it's nice to see him in the breakaway. A perfect day to get in the breakaway today, because I think it's fair to say, Paul, a lot of these guys live in Boulder. You know, it would be easier to explain to the viewers the riders from America who don't live in Boulder.
No, it's become really a mecca for American cyclists. It's because it's at altitude. You have the ability to go out training on the flatlands away from Denver, or you've got the mountains behind you. And with the altitude at just around 5,500 feet, it's perfect for getting ready for the international racing scene.
Well, here we are. The leaders are up on the hills there now, out of town. This is the main pack. We call it the peloton, the main field of riders containing all of the race favourites at the moment, coursing their way through Boulder. I have to say the town has really turned out down there, because they're leaving the town. They're still too deep on the curbside there. This is a big workmanlike breakaway, this, and I think it might stay away for quite a while before they start to reel it in. But they will have to go for it sooner or later. I spoke to a lot of young cyclists this morning. They were saying this is a brute of a course today. So there we are. We are now looking at Durango, where the race started last Monday with Fort Lewis here as the backdrop. And this was where we had all the pre-race festivities and the gala before the race got underway in its long journey around Colorado. So let's look back at the opening stage to Telluride, presented by Colorado. In the hours counting down to stage 1 of the USA Pro Challenge,
How you doing, buddy? Pretty good.
every tribe has a different vibe. Some, like BMC, exude quiet professionalism.
Should be one of the more relaxed days because it's not like a big hard finish. Probably going to be one of only 2 chances for the sprinters.
Others, like Garmin Sharp, are more relaxed.
We've had a nice, quiet week hanging out here in Durango. I think everybody's ready to go.
Often a team assumes the personality of their leader, and that is certainly the case with Amiga Farmer Quickstep.
In the van. But did you ask them about more of this? Or are you saying that's the only one? One? One stick.
As goes Levi, so goes the team. With that, the epic challenge commences, and a journey of 600 miles begins with a single pedal crank. As the USA Pro Challenge gets underway, within 4 miles, a 23-man breakaway has already formed, leaving many behind. BMC Racing Team and overall hopeful TJ Van Garderen opt to pursue. Tom Danielson is in the escape group, which means his team car is not far behind.
Okay, give me a bottle ready.
Tom, I don't know how good Zab is, but he's only about 20 seconds behind you with Velets. No, he's with Velets. One guy. They're 20 seconds behind you.
On the climb up the 10,222-foot Lizard Head Pass, the man who knows these roads better than anyone else makes his move.
This race, for me, I can taste it. I'm sure the team will be able to see that. I think it's hard to not have a motivated team in Colorado, but all I'm going to say is the team's got to be more motivated this year than before. And in terms of results, I don't want to say anything because I don't want another 2012 Tour de France.
This is the first time Danielson has turned pedal in anger since separating both shoulders over a month ago on the unforgiving roads of France. As Danielson ascends the pass, his manager tries to join him.
Go, Tom, go. Don't look back, just go.
Without anyone to help, Danielson has to do all of the work. On the road, the stakes are often unclear, with a fog of war prevailing. And while at first it seems like Danielson is going for a mere stage win, it turns out that the gamble is much bigger. Last year's margin of victory was a mere 11 seconds, which means that if Danielson can catch all other contenders by surprise on this day, he may be able to gain an insurmountable lead. But the likes of Levi Leipheimer and TJ Van Garderen will never be able to recover from. Minute by minute, the huge gamble heightens. And while Danielson is at the summit first, the risk is not over. For there is still a dangerous downhill descent into the box canyon city of Telluride, 12 miles below. So Tommy Danielson now determined to get something out of this stage. At one stage, and he was in a big group nearly 6 minutes up. Now he knows the chase is on. It's around about a minute 20 now by the peloton. They really are fighting just to save the whole tour here on day 1. As formidable a climber as Danielson is, descending is not his best quality. And soon 3 men catch him, including his teammate Peter Stettner. But the bigger danger is every other rider now realizing the seriousness of the situation. Second by second, the locomotive gains time. Then to Vorta's surprise, Danielson's teammate Peter Stettner opts to attack again.
No, Pete. No, Pete. Pete, no, Pete.
Well, all right. You can get away clean.
Now with Stettner at his side, Danielson searches for a second wind in determined pursuit of victory. It's a long, flat road, unfortunately, maybe for these two guys. As we make a right turn off this mountain, it's then a flat road towards the finishing line itself.
The two guys that I wanted up front are up front, so that's good. I would have preferred Zad.
Okay, we have a few murders out the front.
We are probably sitting on the motorbike here with the main peloton, just looking around that corner. You can see the two leaders. I would hesitate to guess there that it's around about 25 seconds the advantage.
While 25 seconds doesn't sound like much, it is double the winning margin of the 2011 edition of the USA Pro Challenge. And after a massive day of racing, the last thing these two riders want is to give up their hard-earned gain. In the end, as is often the case with cycling, just 3 miles from Telluride, all of the energy expelled appears for naught.
And that lead group of 3 has been reabsorbed. We are all together at the front. All together at the front, the lead group was reabsorbed. We are approaching the 2K.
But there is a glimmer of hope for Garmin as they possess perhaps the best pure sprinter in the field, 28-year-old Tyler Farrar.
I'm a sprinter, so I'm good at the fast, flat stuff. Just kind of the opposite of Colorado for the most part. Yeah, there's still a few sprint stages in Colorado, and hopefully I can take a good crack at it.
As they turn for the finish now, Farrar's really going to have to pull something special here. Tyler Farrar is going to finish the day off for Garmin Shop, and he's won his first stage in the Tour de France July last year.
Officially the Garmin rider, please.
Who? What? Who is it?
Vanderbilt, Adam.
All right! Yeah!
Farrar is an unofficial
Wait, what? Farrar? She's like, oh, whatever. Who cares? Who cares?
I knew today could possibly be a sprint, but I really wasn't sure if I'd have the legs to make it, so I was pretty happy to pull it off. And, for me personally, I've had kind of a disaster of a season, so this means a whole lot to me to finally get a win.
I thought for sure we were going to win the race, but we're just too light, and that descent was too long, or something, I don't know. Everybody went fast from behind. What are you gonna do? I guess you can try again tomorrow, but Tyler did a phenomenal ride. It was awesome to see him win, and I'd have to say that was probably the most exciting race of the year.
To the end of day one. Let's have a look at the overall standings after that first day of racing. We should know too that Garmin Sharp is based in Boulder, where we're heading to today. Tyler Farrar, the sprint winner there, ahead of Bazzana of Italy, and Damiano Caruso, who's proved to be a very good sprinter here. The former American US champion Freddie Rodriguez in 4th, and Rory Sutherland, the champion from Australia, rides for the American United Healthcare team. He crossed the line in 5th place. Everybody in that group were given the same time. So that's the look back to day one as we now catch up with the live action here. The riders climbing away from Boulder. There's still 14 leaders. There's been 1 or 2 try to slip off the front of this group, but they've been all put back in their place. And the most dangerous rider in this break is Francisco Colorado, just 42 seconds off the front. So it's a beautiful day around the hills of the Rockies here in Boulder, Colorado. Stage 6 is underway, and we'll see you in a moment. And welcome back to this beautiful state of Colorado. Today, the riders in the Pro Challenge are heading between Golden and Boulder and to the top of Flagstaff Mountain. 14 riders slipped away from the large pack after about 10 miles today, and they built themselves a lead, Paul, of 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yes, but what you have to bear in mind is these riders, many of them have lost a lot of time in the overall standings over the first 5 days of this race. And of course, there are very strong teams in the main field behind who will judge their effort and try and pull these early pace setters back into the fold before we come to the final climb of the day, the climb of Flagstaff Mountain.
Well, there's all the names coming through to you, and the last name there is Li of China. It's nice to see now that the Chinese cyclists are getting themselves into road racing at the highest level, because this is a major cycle race on the world calendar, but it's only the second time the race has been promoted here in Colorado. That's the mountainous route today. It's been like this every day for these riders. They've been up and down the Rocky Mountains, east and west of the chain. We're heading up a steady climb towards Boulder Canyon at the moment. Once over the top of that, we'll make our way down to Lee Hill Road and finally into Boulder again before finishing right here at Flagstaff, where there is a big crowd gathering, and they're having to walk the best part of 3.5 miles to get up to the mountain. So as we're looking at now, Lance Armstrong yesterday, the world was officially told by the US Anti-Drugs Agency that they were putting a ban for life on Lance Armstrong for drugs abuse since he started his career post-cancer back in August 1998. Now, let's have a look, first of all, at a quote from USADA's Travis Target. He said, "At the end of the day, a lot of people knew the truth, but they were silenced by the internal pressure from the team to keep everything secret. This is the most witnesses we've ever had in any case come forward." We don't know what those witnesses said, by the way, because there has been no public inquiry with the decision by Lance Armstrong not to fight the case yesterday. Now, one of Armstrong's teammates is Frankie Andreu, who was riding with him at the times, and he says yesterday here on this race, Lance fights everything, so I was very surprised that they chose to not fight the charges. At the same time, I'm really surprised that USADA has enough information to strip him pretty much of all of his results. I never imagined that it would come to that. And that was the comments there by Frankie Andreu, who was part of the Armstrong racing team at the time, at the height of Armstrong's career, in fact. Now, Paul, the Washington Post had quite a sensational story running in their paper this morning, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it depends which side of the line you stand on, because the lead headline in the Washington Post was Lance Armstrong's doping campaign exposes USADA's hypocrisy. In fact, it quotes U.S. District Judge Sam Sparks in the Post article by saying, "The deficiency of USADA's charging document is of serious constitutional concern. Indeed, but for two facts, the courts might have been inclined to find USADA's charging letter was a violation of due process."
Yes, well, even though they've announced their decision to ban him, I have a feeling that is not the end of the case at all. Anyway, let's get back to the race today as we head towards Boulder, and we can now go out on course with Steve Perino inside the race.
Phil, Paul, you guys know the legend of Lance Armstrong as well as anyone. What we learned the past couple days is that legend is a sword that cuts both ways. I don't think there's any doubt without Lance Armstrong, we don't see the crowds we just saw in Boulder. Maybe we don't even see this race, but with him, when the headlines go negative, really, that's what everyone is talking about. Well, when I talked to the riders and directors yesterday, they didn't have much to say. What they did say, if we want to talk about something in the doping world, let's talk about how we can clean up the peloton today. Today, mum was the word. But anyone that read beyond the headlines yesterday knows that those stories about Lance Armstrong have hardly concluded. It is just the prologue. As far as these guys are concerned, though, it is press on regardless. And right now, they're pressing on at 27 miles an hour average from the start.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, it's worth remembering that all of Armstrong's major sponsors have already publicly stated they will stand by him and continue to make donations to his Live Strong Foundation. Now, these are the two chasers here, Paul, and I really think they're banging ahead against the Rocky Mountains because they're losing ground on the leaders and they're not gaining a lot of ground on the big chase behind.
Yeah, well, they've tried to get themselves across to that leading group of 14, but Carter Jones and Yogi Roscoff of Team Type 1, they're in no man's land.
So there are the people at the head of the race. The rider in the blue and white stripes up front there is Rory Sutherland. The race is still 29 miles in, still 73 miles to go. We look over the canyons here. We're seeing the leaders on the sixth stage of the USA Pro Challenge, heading towards Boulder today. They've seen the town of Boulder once. We're now out in the surrounding hillside here. These 14 riders, Paul, are building on the lead.
Well, they certainly are. These 14 riders are actually heading up through Boulder Canyon, which peaks out at almost 8,000 feet. But at the front end of the main field behind, it's the teammates of TJ Van Garderen who are setting the pace, trying to pull this breakaway back before we get back into Boulder next time.
Well, there's the peloton from our helicopter here as we look down. Now, we showed you earlier Tyler Farrell winning the opening stage last Monday. He was the first man to wear the yellow jersey. The second stage went from Montrose on to Mount Crested Butte, presented by Aquarot. Outside Montrose, the race gets underway, and unusually aggressive riding early splinters the field. Further up the road, three of the riders from yesterday's breakaway, Dave Zabriskie, Vincenzo Nibali and Jens Voigt, keep the tempo at levels that would crack anyone but the world's best. Despite difficult crosswinds, Dave Zabriskie continues to work for the second straight day. Garmin Sharp making it clear that they would like to make an impact on every stage of this race. But Garmin Sharp isn't the only team looking to thrive in Colorado's thin air. Inside Radio Shack Nissan's lead car, veteran sport director Alain Galopin fraternizes with the opposition.
We can speak with the rider. Brian, was it difficult start?
Was a difficult start.
Former under-23 US national champion Ben King is currently fulfilling his role as domestique, shuttling water bottles to more established stars like Chris Horner. And on this day, that proves to be a dangerous mission, as gusty winds and tight quarters result in bike meeting pavement.
Oh, there's a crash at the back, and it looks as if Ben King is the rider who's gone down there. Ben King looks as if he's in a serious amount of pain there. Now, what's happening, we were starting to get a bit of organisation coming at the front end of the race, and with the crosswinds, it was forming a little echelon across the road, and everyone's scrambling to get out of the wind and into the shelter, and then all of a sudden you touch wheels and you go down hard like this.
And Ben King here doesn't look too good at all here. I think he's in quite a bit of pain and waiting for a little bit of assistance. He's getting up. That's a good sign. Sudden move. Now he's got a new bike. He's going to try and ride that pain out.
Usually when I crash, the first thing I'm thinking of is get back on the bike, get back in the race as quick as possible. But I was pretty sure I was going to get in the car, and then the mechanic came running up with the bike, and so I got back on, and for the first little while I was a little bit spacey.
Go to see the doctor, Ben. Huh? He doesn't want to stop. He said, I'm okay to finish the race. Ben, he crashed, okay? No, Ben, he crashed. He crashed. He crashed. I was busy with him. Ben, it's nothing to go. You think you are able to go to the finish? No?
I finished, yeah, I finished.
Yeah, yes. You finish, huh?
I don't race though.
Well, you finish and we see with the doctor.
As those who have experienced a less brutal day than King close in on the steep slopes now of Mount Crested Butte, Garmin Sharp and Omega and BMC are working hard to close in on Vincenzo Nibali and the dangerous escape group before it's too late. With Mount Crested Butte plainly in sight, the breakaway finally turns against itself, with BMC Racing Team's Matthias Frank launching an attack. Stage 2 covers 99.2 miles. On this day, those last 2/10 will be the hardest, with the race finishing on an uphill climb. The peloton responds to Frank's charge, and his teammate Van Garderen makes his move. That looks very much like TJ Van Garderen to me. Just sitting on the back of the wheel there is Christian van der Velde. The one that wins gets yellow. It's as simple as that. TJ Van Garderen has never won a road race stage as a pro, a fact he hopes to change in pursuit of a larger goal.
There were really only a couple crucial stages last year. You had Aspen and then Vail Time Trial, Crested Butte. This year, there's 5 chances for GC. You have Crested Butte, Beaver Creek, Aspen, Time Trial, and Boulder. So that's 5 chances. So that's a lot of days for where you can lose the race and a lot of days that you can win the race.
Van Garderen looks over his shoulder, waiting to see if there's going to be any challenge coming from Van der Velde.
Well, Van der Velde is making his move now, and I don't think TJ can answer that, or can he? TJ is digging deep here. He's taking Christian van der Velde on, shoulder to shoulder. And as he comes up now, TJ Van Garderen becomes the next leader. He snatches the win. He pulls it out of absolutely nowhere with just on half a kilometre to go to the line.
Oh, it feels incredible. I mean, I got in this jersey a day last year and it felt incredible, and this year I'm going to try to take it till Sunday. I saw some of them kind of attacking but not really getting too far, and I felt my legs were good, so I'm like, all right, I'll go now. And I looked back and Christian was just glued to my wheel. I mean, he was like just inches from my wheel, so I kind of thought, okay, well, he's in the perfect position. He's probably going to out-sprint me, but I don't know, at this altitude, it's hard to have that really big kick. So I think he went and kind of died, and I got to put my hands in the air for the first time in almost 3 years. It's pretty special.
So let's have a look at the results after day 2. There did appear there to be a measurable time gap, but in fact the judges gave both of those riders, Van Garderen and Van der Velde, the same time, 6 seconds better than Ivan Rovny of Russia and 8 seconds ahead of the defending champion Levi Leipheimer from Amiga, which is a Belgian pro team. Now let's go back to the action here, because we're looking here now. The rider nearest camera 153 is Francisco Colorado. They are still clear, although the signs of a reversal at the moment. The gap is down to 4.5 minutes. They've lost about 50 seconds of their lead as they ride the Boulder Canyon. Welcome back. We're on the 6th day of the USA Pro Challenge bicycle race as we head now from Golden through the Rockies again and off to Flagstaff Mountain for the finish. At the moment, the leading group of 14 riders, they're losing their overall advantage here, around about 4.5 minutes just at the moment. There's a chase of 2 riders in between. That's where we are now. We're climbing surely but steadily to the top, which will take us up the Boulder Canyon here. And at the top there will be a Nissan King of the Mountains award, which is a close battle. And the fact that Francisco Colorado, Paul, is in that lead group, it's a big danger to Tommy Danielson's title. Well, it's a big danger to Tommy Danielson's title, but it's also a danger to TJ Van Garderen in the overall standings, because he starts the day just 42 seconds behind. Good point. All right, let's go inside the race again now, and let's rejoin on the motorbike Steve Perino.
Guys, listening to the pundits yesterday, a lot of them felt like maybe this race wouldn't come apart until the final climb. Well, I guess we'll have to wait to see what the pundits were saying, Steve, because we've lost you there with the mountains. The way we bring you these live pictures on the race is very, very complicated, and the mountains sometimes have another say of the whole version, but we'll have a little look at the top of the mountain here. These are the fans enjoying themselves on the top of Flagstaff Mountain, Paul. It is actually a beautiful day, and I don't know, many of the Americans will never have seen this view from Flagstaff over Boulder. It's knockout, and it's a lovely temperature as well. Perfect. 70 degrees Fahrenheit, a slight east-southeasterly wind of 5 miles an hour, sunny forecast for the whole of the afternoon. These really are pretty much ideal racing conditions. We're looking down at the main field. That's the main field that contains all of the overall contenders, the guys who are so high in the overall classification. The best rider is the youngster, 24 years of age, TJ Van Garderen, who nowadays actually lives in Boulder, Colorado as well. Yes, it's going to be a big turnout. Tommy Danielson also lives in Colorado. He leads the King of the Mountains competition here. He trains on the hill we're going to, as the riders see 5 kilometers to the top of this climb, which is 3 miles, and then they will contest the points. The first 10 riders over the top receive points in the competition, and lying in 3rd place in that competition and very easily in reach of Tommy Danielson is rider 153, Colorado, just in front of our camera. There's the climb. All of the climbs, I think, in the Rockies are long, Paul, but they're not quite as steep as the climbs in the Tour de France. No, this climb at 10.6 miles in length, and when they go over the top, there's still 66 miles of racing to go down towards the finish, and then once they do head down towards the finish, there are 2 more climbs along the way there. Lee Hill Road, which is around about 13 miles to go to the end, and the finish at the top of this magnificent Flagstaff Mountain. Well, chatting with the club cyclists this morning, they said Lee Hill Road could be a real springboard because there's no more climbs until they get to the base of Flagstaff Mountain. We went up the mountain this morning. The crowd were beginning to walk the slopes at 7:45 in the morning because there's no room on the top to park vehicles of the quantity required. So everybody walking up, or they can take a shuttle bus. These are the 2 loneliest men on the road today because they've been behind the leaders and in front of the bunch for now. Let me just have a look. 24 miles.
Well, this is Carter Jones just sitting in second position. Joey Roscoff in there as well. They're only now, Phil, around about 40 seconds in front of the main field. We always think that the sport of professional cycling is an individual sport because you only get one winner, but to actually win the bike race, you have to have a strong team around you. And the American rider TJ Van Garderen rides for the American team BMC with the Swiss sponsor, and he has brought to this event this year a racing team which is as good as any team that you could take to the Tour de France.
I absolutely agree with that. Looking back briefly there on the radio tracker, that was TJ Van Garderen near the front of the bunch. This is the leading group. Now, as we came through Boulder earlier today, we passed Tossa Pizza. Now, I'm telling you that because Tossa is a local pizza restaurant, and they now feature pizza recipes of several of the riders in this race. And in fact, today for our lunch we had the pizza that was called TJ Van Garderen, which was created, and there's what's in TJ Van Garderen. The other title riders you can buy from the restaurant is Tom Danielson, Tim Duggan, the American champion, Lucas User, and of course Levi Leipheimer, last year's winner. They will stay on sale at the Tossa Pizza restaurant once this race is long since passed through. So we're looking at the wheels of the leaders here. There are 14 of them in this breakaway. 153, you can see. He'll be looking soon to be first over the top of this climb. We'll take another break. Welcome back to Shack Tracker, pointing out Tommy Danielson down there. He's going home today in Boulder, Colorado. He's also an extremely good climber. He's in the red Nissan King of the Mountains jersey, which means he's got most points out on all of the climbs this week. But one of the danger men who could take that jersey from him, Francisco Colorado, great name for this race around Colorado, but he is a Colombian and he does climb extremely well. He's in this group here. You can just see him now. 153 is his number, and he's turning out to be quite an attacking rider. These are the leaders.
Yes, well, Colorado is looking for 16 points if he wants to overhaul Tommy Danielson in the lead in that Nissan King of the Mountains classification. And in races like the Tour de France, after the green jersey for the sprinters, the King of the Mountains jersey is one of the very famous jerseys which has written so many of the legends of the stories of the Tour de France because of the romantics and the escapades that you have to go through to try and win that competition.
American flag flying high there, but what it indicates to us and the riders is the light winds which are blowing today. It is an idyllic day for a race through the mountains today, and especially for the finishing climb. There's one thing about the finishing climb on Flagstaff, Paul. It is the steepest climb that the riders will encounter throughout this whole week.
Yes, definitely. We've had a couple of hilltop finishes, I would have to say, but this one is very difficult indeed. The red spot, the first red spot, you can see that's the summit of Boulder Canyon, and unfortunately for the riders, they continue to climb up a little bit to just inside of 10,000 feet in altitude before dropping down to the sprint point at 75 miles covered in the town of Lyons. But it is definitely all about this final climb of the day. It might only be 4 miles long, Phil, but it's very, very steep.
Well, these are the two chasers. They really are lodged in no man's land. I don't think they're that far ahead of the main field at the moment. The Carter Jones, who's in the red here, number 114, and Joey Roscoff from Team Type 1. Which is a diabetes team, proving that riders, even with this disease, can actually race at this level of cycling. So good luck to them. They're having a very good season around the world, actually. With the long empty road ahead, they can't see these riders. We've gone up the road by more than half a mile to bring up these leaders, as we're looking now at 1 kilometer to the top of this mountain. Watch for a move for number 153, because he's the man that wants the points, Francisco Colorado. He's also a big danger to the race leader, TJ Van Garderen, because he's only 42 seconds behind him in the overall, and of course with the lead he's got 340 now, 440 rather, over the main field. He's actually the virtual leader of the race on the road.
Yeah, that's to me more dangerous than the challenge that he's putting in, Phil, to the King of the Mountains classification. The two riders from Colombia now starting to move to the front. Number 155 is his own teammate, Robinson Oyola. He will set the tempo. You can see Colorado there is sitting in third position. He's waiting, he's looking around these corners, because bear in mind, Phil, there's no dress rehearsal in a race like this, and the riders from overseas will not know exactly where the finish line at the top of this climb is going to be.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, but they do recognize 1 kilometer to go, of course, because of the European metric measurements, and around that corner it won't be much more than a couple of 100 meters. His teammate has moved up alongside him here to try and take him to the line in first place. Now, if he wins it, he'll get 10 points in the competition, and that won't give him the lead, but it would put him into a very solid third place, only 6 points behind the race leader. There's yet another magnificent scenery here of the dam just above just above Boulder.
Well, I think that's one thing that has been quite remarkable this week, Phil, is the backdrops that we've had in this magnificent state of Colorado.
So we come up to the top of the Boulder Canyon here. We'll top out. We'll have done 37 miles of the 102 they're racing today. And the two Colombians are marauding at the front there as they try. It's still saying on our screen 4 kilometers to go. Listen to the fans. I think I said 4 kilometers there. I meant, of course, 4/10 of a kilometer. The home of Tim Duggan. This is Nederland, where we are in Colorado. And the home of Tim Duggan is right in this group. That's the reason for his attack. He's also the current American champion. While up front, the battle for the King of the Mountain points have gone. And not surprisingly, there's one rider taking him on it. And he's got second place, in fact, Colorado there.
Yeah, that was Alex Hauser went over the line there in first place, and that was a big challenge. The reason for that, Phil, was because it's his teammate, Tommy Danielson, who leads that competition. So instead of getting the 10 points, the 10 maximum points at the top of the climb, Francisco Colorado only walks away with 9.
Yes, so instead of having 44 points, he's now got 43 to Tom Danielson's 50. So that was a good move by the teammate. Alex House, by the way, his folks are watching in Boulder today. I actually met his parents in town today, and they were saying that he was actually educated locally. He comes, I think they said, from over in Golden. I spoke to so many people. The enthusiasm in Boulder is second to none, I can tell you. But Alex House had a great week. There's no doubt about that. He's riding extremely well. So a good result there for one of our favourite climbers, I think, Francisco Colorado. He's been a real animator here in the Rockies, and with a name like Colorado, frankly, you can't go wrong.
No, I think he will garner a whole lot of support. These are the two riders caught in no man's land, hovering 45 seconds ahead of the main field, and they'll be wondering at the end of the day, Phil, when they start to climb Flagstaff Mountain, they'll be questioning the intelligence of a move like this on such a tough day on the penultimate day of the USA Pro Challenge here in Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely agree. They've made a real hard day for themselves. They saw the break go. They tried to catch it. They've fallen back. They really should just ride the climb now at their own speed without using too much energy. There is Tim Duggan there. It's right in our camera at the moment. He is the USA National Road Race Champion. A good reward for hard work, I think, that this year, that title for him. And, well, all of his local fans are out to cheer him through Nederland today.
Well, in fact, there he is in the red, white and blue. That jersey, different to the rest of the riders on Liquigas Gas Cannondale, because he sports the colours of the American flag as the national champion, title which he won just before the start of the Tour de France. And next year, in fact, he's not remaining on this Italian squad. He's going to move to a Canadian squad, Team Spidertech, which has just signed up to stay in the sport for the next 3 years to try and develop a Canadian team capable of going through towards the Tour de France.
Just reached the city limit, Nederland, that's where he lives, and at 8,200 feet above sea level. So he's used to these high altitude rides today. Looking at the main field here, Paul, the gap has started to stretch again. It's 4:45.
Well, this is a little bit the cat and mouse. They all know that the most important part of this race is going to be the final climb of the day, but they do need to be very, very wary of the presence of Francisco Colorado in that leading breakaway, because he's only looking for 42 seconds, and we know that he's a very, very good climber. This whole team from Colombia, it's a young development squad from Colombia, EPM UNE. They have come to the Tour of Colorado before, and they want to shine here, and they really have no fear at all, Phil, of the altitude.
Yeah, absolutely right here, but a nice crowd here for the main field to be welcome now. Now they've just seen, these are the leaders here now as they've come over the top of the canyon. 38 miles covered by them, heading to Lyons now. Yeah, sign on the wall there saying the home of Tim Duggan. He must feel pretty proud of himself today. He's in the breakaway as well. The Colorado folks have really taken this race to heart in just 2 years.
Well, can I ask you one thing, Phil? Are we actually in Colorado, or are we back in France in the month of July for the Tour?
It makes you wonder. There's the result of that climb. Alex Howes getting the 10 points, taking one away at least from Francisco Colorado. Oyoya, another Colombian, up there in third. That was his teammate. Jens Voigt, the man that won the other day into Beaver Creek, he's in fourth place over the top of that climb. And those are all the point scores. First 7, 2 points for the 7th place rider, Paolo Longo. Borghini of Italy, but there's no points left in the chase, so Tom Danielson can't make any more progress there. So the situation overall now is that he's got 50 points. Casablanca back in the field, 47. Now Colorado is up there with a solid 43. These are the two riders as Joey Roscoff leads over Carter Jones. They're at 4 minutes and 10 seconds, so really they should just take it easy and let that field catch them up. They can't afford to waste all of their energy before the climb to the finish at Flagstaff.
Well, there's the main field now, just about to come around that corner and broach the summit of Boulder Canyon. Let me just tell you one thing, by the way, Phil. Once you get to the summit of Boulder Canyon, it's not actually the top of the climbing. They continue to climb up a little bit further until they get just inside of 9,000 feet before they even think about starting to go downhill into the town of Lyons.
And didn't you used to hate that, Paul, when you rode the Tour de France?
There was nothing worse than having a sprint for the king of the mountains before the top of the climb, because you know that you've got to keep going on. And these one or two riders in this race will be a little bit concerned about that. It has been a tough race again right from the very start. We've seen this race from day one in Durango. The riders have gone out on the attack on every day to make this race tougher and tougher. No fear at all of the altitude. We've had many stages between 8,000 and 12,000 feet as we look at Team BMC Racing now leading them over the top of that climb. Sitting in about 4th or 5th position is the overall leader, TJ Van Garderen, biding his time currently.
Yes, they're not worried just yet about the progress of this breakaway, but they will have to get worried sooner or later, with Francisco Colorado only 42 seconds off TJ Van Garderen and indeed Christian van der Velde, who are equal on time in the overall. There's Duggan cruising up the inside of that blue jersey, just keeping an eye on things and soaking up the shouts I'm sure he's getting from a lot of people he will know coming out of his hometown.
Well, the rider just a little bit further back there, Jens Voigt, will be 41 years of age next month on the 17th of September. These are the two chasers. They can't be, Phil, very much more than 35 seconds ahead of the main field. If they look back over their shoulders on these long straight roads, they will see the main field boring down upon them.
So the city limit for those two chasers, 64 miles are still left to go of the 102 on the menu today, and the gap is still a very healthy one for these 14 riders up front. Welcome back. We're looking at the leading bunch of 14 riders here as they race between Golden and Boulder and Flagstaff Mountain here in Colorado, the second year of the running of the US Pro Challenge. And they're still holding a healthy lead over the main peloton, which is currently, Paul, under the escort of the American BMC team.
Yes, two riders locked in exactly the same time. TJ Van Garderen, you can see him there wearing the yellow jersey, just peeking out from the back of his line of teammates. And lying in the second row, the riders in the blue helmets and the blue jerseys, those will be the teammates of Christian van der Velde, who comes from Illinois.
Sugarloaf, well, I know a famous mountain that's the home of the Olympic Games in 4 years' time in Rio de Janeiro. Well, this is nice atmosphere, isn't it, on the climb? We've gone through Boulder Canyon, through Nederland. Now we're heading towards the town of Lyons, which will take us through 74 miles, so a little way away from that yet. But we've, I think, transported the atmosphere of the Tour de France to Colorado today.
No, definitely. I think one thing to note, Phil, a lot of the top riders in the world want to come and ride these races in the United States, because not only do they get looked after with extremely good hotels and good food, but they enjoy the enthusiasm of the crowds.
Absolutely right. And that man could do with his haircut. Anyway, the race concludes in Denver tomorrow, so don't forget that tomorrow the Epic Cycle Series will continue with the conclusion of the USA Pro Challenge. Coverage will begin tomorrow at 2 Eastern right here on the NBC Sports Network, and it will conclude at 4 Eastern on NBC. So that's a big conclusion tomorrow here on NBC of the race, which has been, again, an outstanding success in a state which I've often said is actually made for top-line professional bicycle riding.
Just to put this into perspective a little bit, Phil, we've done only 40 miles of this 103-mile race here this afternoon, so still over 60 miles of racing to go. Virtually, if we were to stop the race right now, Francisco Colorado from the Colombian team would be the leader with a minute-and-a-half advantage over Chris Baldwin, and that's because of the fact that they are so far ahead of the main peloton.
Yes, because the time they've recouped all of the time they've lost over the past 5 and a bit days of racing, and that's the standings. But of course TJ Van Garderen would plummet from the lead to finish 6th over 4:28 back. That'll change, believe me. At the moment, Van Garderen is watching and waiting, and his team are just keeping that steady tempo on the front, keeping these boys in their gun sights, but not making a move yet, because they know the vicious climb of Flagstaff Mountain above Boulder could change the whole face of this race.
What you also got to bear in mind is this race has really been a wearing down process since we left Durango on the Monday of this week. Every day has been a very difficult day of racing. I would think that once we get to the final couple of climbs of the day, and you can actually see here, if you start to look at these riders from BMC Racing, they are now lifting the pace.
Hour of recuperation overnight to do it all again, and that is what makes a great stage race rider. I think TJ Van Garderen's shown us he's up for the win here. His whole family are following him now as he lives in Boulder, and tomorrow the race will finish in nearby Denver. So he's looking to try and win this race. He's only a youngster too. He's just turned 24 years of age on the 12th of August. These are the leaders though, and there's always those who try to spoil the party, and that's what these boys are trying to do at the moment. Number 37 there, Jens Voigt in the black, bobbing around. He gave us a demonstration of how to ride the whole day on your own as he rode to Mount Cresty, Beaver Creek a couple of days ago to win there. So 5 minutes is now the gap, 14 riders versus the rest as we continue back towards Boulder. Well, welcome back to the race here, heading now between Golden and Boulder. Flagstaff Mountain is where the finish is today. These are the 14 leaders. Everybody in between has now been swept up.
Well, they're just making it as we speak there. These two riders in no man's land for a long, long time. They just could not get across to that leading group of 14. There will be a massive showdown when we come down to the last 25 miles or so of this race, because in the last 25 miles there's two very nasty little climbs. Lee Hill Road is the first one. Riders drop down into Boulder, then the climb of Flagstaff Mountain, which is 4 miles long, climbs up to the eerie peaks of about 6,000 feet.
Well, we've got a nice standard race pattern now, 14 leaders and the rest of the race trying to catch up with them. So let's continue with our look back on the week and go back to last Wednesday. TJ Van Garderen was the leader as we head from Gunnison to Aspen, presented by New Belgium Brewing. After just 1 year, Cottonwood Pass has already become legendary. For those who rode and those who saw, testified to the unforgettable ascent. Team Gorman Sharp, aggressive thus far, is veiled about the day's plan.
Well, you know, it's just going to be a hard race of attrition. Rainy conditions, high altitude. I don't know. If I told you the strategy, then it wouldn't be a secret. I mean, you're not the only person here.
Tom Danielson appears to be less coy.
I'm probably just going to sit in the Peloton today and relax. I'm really tired. My legs hurt.
Please don't do that.
My head's cracked, and TJ just looks too strong.
As the peloton embarks, keep those words in mind and keep a close eye on Danielson, for very little of what he said will ring true by the day's end. As the western slope of Mammoth Cottonwood Pass approaches, BMC Racing Team leads the peloton in an effort to protect race leader, the 24-year-old TJ Van Garderen, who has succeeded 2011 Tour de France champion Cadel Evans as the team's strongest rider. 3 minutes ahead, Gorman Sharp's most valuable player, Dave Zabriskie, is once again in an escape group, but BMC seems unconcerned. As the pavement is left behind, dirt causes the precision machines to bog down. Gorman Sharp's dangerous climber Danielson bridges to join his teammate Zabriskie in the escape group. BMC doesn't counter. It's a move that comes as little surprise to other directors.
Danielson bridged over with the Colombian guy to the front group. and behind is main group, 1 minute with BMC pulling.
For BMC, I think they're not too threatened by it. I think they know that the race is hard enough that guys are going to start to suffer later on.
As the breakaway nears the summit, mighty Cottonwood lives up to its billing as one of cycling's most unique climbs. As the lead group nears the crest, aptly named Colombian rider Francisco Colorado summits the pass first, followed by Danielson and Zabriskie, reaching the banner with a 2-minute gap over the peloton and BMC race leader TJ Van Garderen. As tough as the ascent has been, after 12,222 feet, the task does not get any easier, with a dangerous downhill that is a constant calculation of risk versus reward. Despite an almost complete lack of guardrails, Danielson and the escape group achieve over 60 miles an hour in a braced descent that holds off the world's best trying to chase them down. In between the two towering 12,000-foot passes, the rest of the escape group has faded away, leaving only Tom Danielson and Francisco Colorado. BMC attempts to give chase, with the man in second, Christian van der Velde, shadowing Van Garderen closely. But one cracked rider at a time, BMC loses horsepower.
Riders now starting to get shed off the back. Look like big George Hincapie there, slipping off the back, having done as much work as he can.
But then Van der Velde also suffers misfortune, resulting in teammate Alex House making a selfless sacrifice.
Well, he's going to have to ride himself very quickly back into the main field. This is the man who, in fact, is in second place overall in exactly the same time as the overall leader, TJ Van Garderen, decided to swap wheels with his teammate. This is why you have to have a good team.
As Van der Velde chases down Van Garderen, incredibly, Tom Danielson, the man who just hours ago declared he had no intent on this day, attacks.
Tommy Danielson now has really put the pressure on, and he's removed Francisco Colorado from his back wheel. This has got to be one of the best days in the life of Tom Danielson on a bike. He is absolutely floating on those pedals here this afternoon. He's got himself now down to being the sole survivor of that 18-man early morning breakaway. It's very, very rare to see a man ride like this after such a long stage. Danielson, I think, is looking for some redemption for having to crash out of the Tour de France this year.
And I can't think of anything better than a yellow jersey to lead the USA Pro Challenge here. He is just on 2 kilometers from the summit of the climb.
And Danielson, I think, is in one of those incredible days that you maybe get once or twice throughout a career. This is a crazy scene, and I tell you what, Phil, this is a moment in cycling that you very rarely see a long breakaway move like this.
Could be coming to the top of Alpe d'Huez in the Tour de France right now as the crowd have really closed in.
In fact, Phil, through the crowd there, Tommy Danielson could hardly see the King of the Mountains point. There it is, the Nissan King of the Mountains at the top of Independence Pass.
Well, it's been an outstanding ride by Danielson today. He reached the leaders on his own. He's blown them all away, all 18 of them. And now he tops out at the top of the Independence Pass. He even waves here. Now he's going to make the descent of his life. He only has to finish with a lead of 13 seconds to take the jersey away from TJ Van Garderen. Yes, a great day of racing. Did he make it? We'll tell you shortly. But right now, back to the race, because moments ago, these two riders have left the front 14, Paul. We've got Francisco Colorado up there, and we've got George Bennett of New Zealand.
Well, this is exactly how it happened just a few moments ago. These guys realized that they really needed to get away on this hilly part of the course, because I think, you know, all of a sudden, Phil, Francisco Colorado is trying to think about winning this bike race overall and keeping pressure on Team BMC, the team of the overall leader, TJ Van Garderen.
It's a young team, this EPM Une team from Colombia, but they're going to go places, and we could well be talking about them in the longer term in the Tour de France. They've been terrifically aggressive, and they've taken the race to the American riders here. This is the main field, and I think that's one of the, no, it isn't Taylor Phinney, but it's one of the Michael Shaw, I think it is, on the front at the moment, who is heading up for Team BMC. The pressure on them to keep that breakaway under control, and in particular Francisco Colorado, who started the day only 42 seconds behind overall and currently is leading by 4 minutes and 15 seconds. We'll take a break, rejoin the action here in Colorado. Welcome back, and if you recognize the numbers at the rear, well, it's the two leaders who just broke away and they decided it was not a good move, Paul, and they've gone back into the pack. I think we can show you that.
Yeah, well, I think that was a fairly sensible thing for them to do here this afternoon, Phil, because what you've got to bear in mind, there's still in excess of 50 miles to go down towards the finish. These are the names of the riders in that breakaway group. Alex Howes, Jens Voigt down there, Rory Sutherland of Australia. But if you look at the time gaps, a lot of those guys are a long, long way behind. We're having a little bit of a chat here, Phil, and I have to say I think this was just before they got caught a few moments ago. The reason they were chatting here, they realized, you know, if you want to survive over 50 miles, it's a little bit like track and field when you're trying to sell a record.
I just wonder how they're getting on, these two, because one is a Kiwi from New Zealand and the other one's from Colombia. But they decided in that discussion, the peloton, or the lead group rather, came up and put them back in their place. So they're all back together. It means we've got 14 riders back in there. Now, we were watching a very excitable Tom Danielson as we were showing you our recap of the third day between Gunnarson and Aspen. Now, did he make it to the finish in Aspen? Well, it's now time to find out. Aspen's bucolic scenery is in sharp contrast to Tom Danielson's high drama.
It's all downhill to the outskirts of Aspen, and then finally he'll get himself a little bit of flat, and he will want to conserve as much of that advantage as possible.
Danielson's gamble leaves him on the precipice. The first rule of cycling is 2 men are stronger than 1, which puts in perspective the 100 men trying to chase down Danielson as he attempts to complete his incredible breakaway.
Let's not forget, all he needs is 13 seconds to take the overall lead. The peloton now are really starting to pick up the pace, and in fact it's down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. It's now just 1 minute. He'll be looking at his speedo, he'll be trying to calculate how many minutes he's got to go to the finish.
It is desperately close to everybody arriving downtown together.
Put it to him right now! Everything you got to the top, you have to get back up to speed! Come on, Tommy D, you got this thing! You know where to go!
After over 5 hours of racing, the finish line beckons. Tom Danielson knows they are coming. Can he hang in? There's lots of switchbacks in town now, constantly changing directions. We have a little tour of Aspen here. 1 kilometre to go. This is a carbon copy of yesterday at Mount Crested Butte when they caught the leader half a kilometre from the line. He's looking for the finish. He's about 450 from the line.
His legs are crying at this moment for the pain to stop. He looks over his shoulder. He's got to find the main fielder coming back very, very quickly indeed to try and get to Tom Danielson.
As he comes up to the line, he gets the victory.
I didn't know what to do, if I should just keep sprinting or celebrate or whatever, and I just had so many emotions in my head. You know, I haven't crossed the finish line like that ever.
After the finish, controversy arises, as even though Van der Velde and Van Garderen are given the same time for the second straight day, Van der Velde had crossed the line ahead of Van Garderen. Therefore, the decision is taken to anoint the Garmin Sharp rider as the new race leader. A decision that BMC immediately protests, as they believe TJ should have been awarded a time gap for his more sizable win on stage 2.
Mike said he's on the way as well, we should wait. But if the official said they will change tomorrow, then... Yeah, that was a good one. That was a very good one. Yeah, it worked. I mean, the day one plan worked finally. Third time's a charm. Same plan 3 days in a row.
I've always got my butt kicked by the clean stage of races. My wife pointed that out. I was planning on attacking on the last climb, but she said, you know what, like, why don't you try to do something that's like totally crazy and puts you in your element, puts you in control, and allows you to
see how strong you are. So thank my wife for giving me the confidence and to go out and do it today.
Tom launched. You know, that was the plan, and you know, just to cause reaction and make it a good platform for him to get up the road, and it's exactly what he did.
See you guys. Thank you.
And I was watching him at the end. I was like, oh no, please, please, please stay out there. And he just made it. The poor kid was so dead he didn't even put his hands up. But.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, a terrific show of strength by Tom Danielson, who, by the way, is heading home today to Boulder, so watch out for him on Flagstaff. That's the overall standings after 3 stages. Van der Velde swaps places with Van Garderen, but they're still equal on time. The other 3 stay exactly as they were, but just a few seconds behind the top 2 in the race. So we'll show you stage 4 shortly as we get back to live action again now. Still our same 14 men, but look, Paul, the gap, 350 now, it's coming back.
Yeah, so finally the work that's being done by BMC Racing on the front end of the peloton, the main pack of riders, is doing the job that they need it to do. These riders need to collaborate and try and conserve as much of their advantage as possible.
Well, we are closing in on the town of Lyons next as we continue our journey through the Rockies today to Flagstaff. We continue right now as we make progress here. Let's have a look at the peloton here. This is still under the escort of Team BMC. They are the team of TJ Van Garderen in the yellow jersey, and never far away from him, Paul, Christian Van der Velde.
Now, just to put it into perspective a little bit, Phil, the breakaway group is riding at an average speed of around about 22 miles an hour over this undulating part of the course as we've gone over the top of Boulder Canyon. But TJ Van Garderen there riding behind George Hincapie, number 27, who will retire from professional cycling tomorrow night after a 19-year career, is pacing himself. His team, though, are trying to push the average overall speed up in this group to about 23 or 24 miles an hour, and the end result is to pull back that leading breakaway group before we get to Flagstaff Mountain.
And that'll probably be what they're calculating. There is this climb of Lee Hill Road, which, as I said, the cyclist we met in town in Boulder this morning said it's a really difficult climb, and it could give them a springboard. It might cause the reaction from the field. It's still a little way off. The time we get over Lee Hill Road, it's 89 miles done. And of course, this race today is 102 miles. There's the overall standings at the start this morning. 2 riders locked as they have been for 4 days now, Van Garderen and Van der Velde. On count back on points, Van Garderen keeps the yellow jersey today. Rovny, Leipheimer, Brakovic, they've been there for 4 days as well. But as the situation is on the road at the moment, the time gained by the leaders, if it were to end now, Francisco Colorado would win this race.
Remember last time we looked at the virtual overall standings, Phil, it was 4 minutes, and now it's down to inside of 3.
Well, the boys are in the Honey Stinger feed zone here. This is where they start taking on their power bars, their drinks, and anything else they can get their hands on. It's the team helpers who pass up the food for them.
Yeah, it's very important in a race like this to take on board food and drink at the intermediate feed point, but it's also probably more important because of the altitude to drink a lot more than you would down at sea level. These riders tend to go through something like 10 to 12 bottles during the course of a day, but once they get into the altitude here around Colorado, many of them are taking on board between 16 and 18 bottles of water, and they still dehydrate a little bit down towards the end of the race, which is why immediately after the finish they have to try and rehydrate. The red part of that profile you can see is the part of the profile that we've covered. The little red spot there is the summit of Boulder Canyon. Now we'll start to pick up the descent down to the 74.8 mile of the race, and that is in the small town of Lyons.
Yes, and by the way, you're seeing all the riders throw off their food and bags there. This is a very economic friendly race, by the way. It's a very green race. All of that rubbish is collected if it's not taken by the spectators. Well, let's get back inside the race and hope we can hear him this time. Steve Perino.
Guys, good news, bad news for the breakaway. Good news is at this point they've been enjoying about a 10-mile-an-hour tailwind. That's been corroborated by my driver using the Beaufort scale, whatever that is. Bad news is that the Colombian Colorado is in the break. He's only 42 seconds out in GC, and because of that, it seems like he is not a welcomer.
Yes, that's right. I think what Steve says is he's not a welcome rider up here, and he won't be now, Paul, because while he is here in this break, the main pack will not allow this break too far.
No, the next riders, in fact, is Chris Baldwin. He's over 2 minutes behind her, but because everybody knows Colorado is a very, very good climber out of Colombia, he's actually one of the older riders from the squad, the EPM UNE squad out of Colombia. He's 32 years of age from the small town of San Rafael in the district of Antioquia, but he's the most experienced rider in the squad, and they are concerned about his presence.
Yeah, they have a big race in Antioquia too, in Colombia, and of course he races at altitude, as they are doing here today. So as they start to whip up the pace, the time starts to crumble just a little bit. There's still 14 riders ahead though, and we've now gone through the 51-mile point. Welcome back, as we still have these 14 riders in the lead and the crowd supporting them all of the way. Yes, as they move on, we are just hearing from the race that Cadel Evans, the winner of the Tour de France, the first Australian to win the race last year, has just abandoned.
Well, I think, Phil, that's a reference of just how difficult this race has been this year. Every day they've come out from the starting blocks, they've raced hard over every stage, and it's a question about recovery and how riders are recovering overnight to get themselves back into form.
Well, Cadel Evans is on this team, which is BMC Racing at the moment. I did note that there was one rider not at the front working earlier, and it must have been Evans who'd slipped to the back to climb off. This is where we are at the moment. We've gone over the high spots of Boulder Canyon now. We're starting to steadily go down towards lines, and then we'll have the one little climb. Doesn't look much before the end of Lee Hill Road, but I'm told it's hard. And then we're into Boulder and out of Boulder, and we will scurry up the steepest climb on the race this year, Flagstaff Hill. It really is a difficult climb, and the scenery is stunning, and everybody's had to walk up today because no vehicles allowed up the climb to make room for the race.
Well, apart from the VIPs, Phil, because they did have a special shuttle service for the VIPs to get to the top of that climb and enjoy the reception in a very, very beautiful wooded area, part of the local national park outside of Boulder.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these boys have really thrown the gauntlet down to everybody else. The presence of Francisco Colorado, the Colombian, is the big worry because he is in the lead on the road at the moment. He's number 153, if he catches bib number there. They're working well together as well, and I've not seen too many passengers here.
No, every one of these riders is participating in the pacemaking a little bit, as you see when you look at a big event on track and field, and you see a runner go to the front to pace the riders, to keep the runners to keep the pace nice and high. That's exactly what's happening here. But every one of these riders is sharing the pacemaking for 50 meters or so before slipping to the back, and we've actually had access to some of the riders' technical information. And when you sit on the wheel of a rider in front of you, you're saving around about 30% of the energy of the man who's riding on the front.
What a beautiful day. Blue skies right across the Rockies here today. And Boulder really is a town for fit people. The triathletes, a lot of triathletes live here. Plenty of cyclists, including a number of the big cyclists in this race and who this year rode the Tour de France, all live in Boulder, Colorado. You see the rider with a hand up there. Well, he just wants to signal to the back of the race that there is a little bit of a problem, but there's a little bit of a problem out here looking at this. Steady on, sir. No rope and tackle as he starts to climb up to get the best view of the day, I would suspect.
Well, actually, I think there was a rope and tackle in there, because that's actually getting on the point of being a rather technical ascent there. Yeah. But what a great view from the top of there to look down on a great bike race like this. The red and black jerseys on the front are the team of the overall leader, TJ Van Garderen. That's BMC Racing. It's an American team, but in fact it's a Swiss sponsor, BMC Bicycles. And they are in control, sitting in the second row, waiting to see whether they will falter, exactly as they did a few days ago when we went into Aspen. The team in the blue jerseys are actually from Boulder, Colorado, and that, of course, is Garmin Sharp. They've got the second place rider overall, Christian van der Velde.
Well, as they set the pace, the speed a little bit slower today. It's averaging 23 miles an hour, but at the moment I think they've lifted that because they are a little bit concerned about these riders out front. They're closing in. Well, is there a more beautiful place in the world than Colorado? Many who live here will certainly say there is not, as these riders now head towards Boulder and Flagstaff Mountain. They are in the lead. We've done 56 miles now. There's 46.5 miles still to go. But the gap is holding at just inside 4 minutes. So, as we're looking down at the race now, let's continue our little story of the week so far. So by Thursday, Christian Vande Velde was the new leader of the race as it set off from Aspen, this time on a 97-mile trek to Beaver Creek. After 3 stages, 355 miles and 26,919 feet of elevation, the peloton embarks for a day that will carry them through America's highest incorporated city at 10,000 feet. 97 miles lie between Aspen and Beaver Creek, and none of them are easy. But that doesn't stop fan favourite Jens Voigt from launching an early attack. The 40-year-old German rider has made a noteworthy career out of solo efforts like this one. Already 4 minutes behind, the peloton pursuit is lackluster, as Voigt is no threat to the 2 men virtually tied for the lead. Christian Vande Velde's main concern is the long list of dangerous riders behind him, all of whom would like to have his jersey. No one more so than TJ Van Garderen, who makes a point of moving up to shadow Vande Velde. On this day, neither the altitude nor rain can stop Jens Voigt. Just round the corner you may see is the summit of Battle Mountain. On the descent from Battle Mountain, Voigt's lead nears 4 minutes, while further back, Vande Velde and Van Garderen continue to eye each other. TJ Van Garderen just peeping into our picture there in the red. He has to finish ahead of Vande Velde to take back that jersey. And do you think Jens Voigt cares? You bet your life he doesn't. All he's got to do now is finish on that line and receive the adulation of the people of Beaver Creek. I would think this will go down as the most popular victory of the year.
Well, I'll tell you, Phil, that performance today is almost impossible.
Today I was on that break and I thought, okay, I attack now, they're never going to catch me again. It was one of those moments where you go, it was like almost like you had a voice talking to you. It's like, go now and it will happen.
Within the peloton, the final ascent to Beaver Creek. It's all about the head-to-head battle for the race leader's jersey. As they hit 300 meters to go, TJ Van Garderen in the red, and there's a gap down towards Christian Vande Velde. If TJ can hold on to this position, he will be the leader again. He's over the line in 3rd place, and I think Christian Vande Velde was 5th or 6th.
Phil, did you see the way he looked over his shoulder? He wanted to know where this man was, wearing number 16, Christian Vande Velde. But TJ Van Garderen now knows in his mind he is the new overall leader.
Tough day. It was really freezing out there with that rain. Tried to get some seconds on the finish, but I don't think that happened. But get some time on the other days.
Did it upset you that they were still murking this morning?
It doesn't really upset me. It's just like if you had a problem with it, why didn't you say it the first day? And then all of a sudden when you lose a jersey, then you have a problem with it. It's kind of like...
For Leipheimer and all others, only 3 stages remain.
We need a real uphill finish. I'm happy to sit back and watch BMC and Garmin trade blow for blow and eventually weaken themselves.
Stage 5 from Breckenridge to Colorado Springs leaves the skyscraping mountains in the rearview mirror. En route to Colorado's front range, a 7-man breakaway quickly forms. The main threat within this group is Vincenzo Nibali, the winner of the 2010 Tour of Spain, and this year the 3rd place finisher at the Tour de France. For the first time in days, Garmin Sharp has to work to protect Christian Vande Velde's 2nd place position. It also allows Van Garderen and BMC to conserve energy. Another man saving energy for Flagstaff Mountain and Denver's time trial is reigning champion Levi Leipheimer. For Tyler Farrar, it's a very different story. For although he never expected to win on day 1, he has always circled this stage as the one that most suits his skills. And if his team can chase down the breakaway, he's the best pure sprinter in the peloton. As the race leader and his many rivals reach Colorado Springs, the escape group fades away to 3 men on the verge of being caught. As a result, the pursuit intensifies. As the race is now coming all together again, as we look down, this is it. It hasn't even gone the distance now. 1.5 laps to go. And as they say in French, a peloton groupe, we're all together now, so the sprinters will start to lick their lips.
They've got a good long line out here. I can't see Tyler Farrar just yet. He's in second position waiting to pounce.
Yes, he is, and then now the lead out will be for Keogh, and if Keogh can make it, but Farrar's got himself in a good position. Now he's moved to the middle. Little bit boxed out of it there. He's going to have to go again on the outside. He doesn't know quite where to turn at the moment. As Tyler Farrar races towards the line, can he get out? And yes, he can, as he comes up the rails this time. Farrar now is streets ahead of the rest. He gets the win.
Just having a quick look down the main field. There's Christian van der Velde. Again, he's behind TJ Van Garderen, so Van Garderen will keep his lead in the yellow jersey here this afternoon. But that man, number 12 there, Phil, he was really looking for the gap. The real art of sprinting there brought to perfection.
We won. No, I mean, the guys chased all day long and, brought it back together. And Tyler finished off the job, so good job to him. Nice work.
Awesome. We're really happy for Tyler and being able to pull it off. He wasn't exactly so happy during the race today because it was sticky. It was hard. It was a hard race. I mean, no matter what you do at 10,000 feet, it's still rough. So, but anyways, he won. That's all that matters.
And after an extraordinary first 5 stages, that is how TJ Van Garderen managed to keep possession of the leader's jersey on the road to Boulder. Yes, so there we are, right up to date before the start of this morning stage. So this is how they went out when they left the town of Golden today. TJ Van Garderen back in his yellow jersey, and for the first time in nearly a week, the first man to defend his lead, but still 0 time on Van der Velde, and still the same time for those riders following, 6, 8 and 12 seconds back. This is the view from Flagstaff Mountain as we look here at the big grounds of the University of Colorado here in Boulder, which was established back in 1876, and I'm sure some of the bike riders in this race have got their education there, Paul.
I certainly believe they will have done. As we look down, there's a great campus there as well. We're looking now at the leading group of 14 riders. The gap is now creeping back up a little bit to 3 minutes and 45 seconds, but there's still a long way to go.
More or less at the moment, the breakaways riding and matching the speed of the chasing peloton. They've only conceded 5 seconds in the last few miles. They've ridden 60.7 miles. There's still 42 miles to go. So as we look down on Colorado, now we're looking at the leaders again, and the absorption continues, Paul. It's come back now to 3 minutes 35 seconds for these leaders.
Well, this is the main field starting to march on in pursuit of these riders we're looking at. The most dangerous rider in this group is number 153, just at the back there with that white and lime green jersey, Francisco Colorado from the Colombian team. He's only looking for 42 seconds on the day. A little bit further down, the gaps are really starting to go quite huge with Chetkov there from Moldova. He's looking for 26 minutes and 33 seconds. A little bit further down, even Rubens Bertogliati, who formerly was a winner of the opening stage of the Tour de France, is 55 minutes behind the overall leaders at the start of today.
Yes, so in effect, if Francisco Colorado gets to the finishing line, the top of Flagstaff Mountain outside of Boulder, with a 42-second advantage, he'll be the next leader of this race. There's the Radio Shack tracker there, taking a look at the man who's currently in the lead, TJ Van Garderen. He's very confident, it has to be said. He lives in Boulder, he's got it all going for himself today, and he's got a strong team around him, despite the retirement from the race today of the Tour de France winner and his team captain, Cadel Evans.
But you know, 24 years of age, I think he really reached maturity this year, especially during the Tour de France, Phil, where he went into the Tour de France basically as an apprentice to Cadel Evans. Cadel Evans faltered during the 3-week bike race in July, and then it was promoted, and I have to say TJ Van Garderen was promoted to the captain of the team, and he supported that role very well, finishing in 5th place overall at just 24 years of age.
We're just on 10 miles now outside of Lyons, which we'll have a waste management sprint there for points in the secondary competition, the race for the green jersey. And yesterday, with his win yesterday in Colorado Springs, Tyler Farrar pulled on the green jersey as leader of that competition today. So he'd be quite happy with the way this breakaway is going, because they're taking away all the points that affects his lead.
Well, that's one big advantage, but what it's also done, Phil, is it made it very, very difficult. It's made a hard race here this afternoon. We know this race is going to be a war of attrition when we come down to the final climb of the day. It's around about a 4-mile climb to the summit of Flagstaff Mountain.
And this is quite a steady descent at the moment, and we keep on going down all of the time. Now there is Tom Danderson on our tracker. Remember that we are heading to his home in Boulder as well, and he trains daily on this mountain of Flagstaff. He knows it inside out. That's why he's lying low and gambling that breakaway is brought back by the team of TJ Van Garderen, because Danderson will certainly launch an attack on that finishing climb today. Guaranteed 100%, right?
Well, I agree with you there, Phil, but he's not the only one, because there's so many other riders in this race also want to use Flagstaff Mountain to move themselves up in the overall standings. I would be very concerned of the team from IPM Une, the Colombian team. It's a development squad from Colombia to try and bring Colombian cycling back up to the heights that it was at in the 1980s and 1990s.
And those fabulous men of Fabio Parra and Lucio Herrera, Rincon, they were magical climbers. They really sprouted wings when they hit the mountains of the world. Well, it's the same team, the same story, and this is the BMC racing team in the black and the red, always nursing their queen bee down there, TJ Van Garderen, keeping out of the winds. They always say if you can ride in the slipstream, you're probably saving 30% of your energy. They know when it comes down to the finish today, he'll have to strut his stuff and he'll have to attack. But they're trying to get into Flagstaff Mountain in the freshest possible condition.
That's quite right. And again, just to illustrating the fact that if you want to win a bike race like the Tour de France or like the USA Pro Challenge, you have to have a strong team around you to pace you to the most crucial parts of the course. That's exactly what BMC Racing are doing currently. We've had a very tough race so far. The red is what's been covered. We went over Boulder Canyon, the little red spot, just the first one you see. Going down now to the outskirts of the town of Lyons, that will be a sprint point, and then 2 more climbs on the day, Lee Hill Road and finally Flagstaff Mountain at the end.
As we course through the beauty of Colorado, as we have done indeed since last Monday, we've seen all of the iconic sights of this beautiful state in the USA. And now we're coming towards another one, Boulder, Flagstaff Mountain. It took a long time to get the authorities to agree to closing down Flagstaff for the arrival of this race, but in the end it was a unanimous decision to allow the race to the top of Flagstaff and the finish of today's stage. It's going to be a huge crescendo today at the end of 102 miles before we get up to that summit. You can see by the bowed shoulders of these riders now, they believe they still have a chance to stay away. The clock is saying that they're actually increasing their lead again. It's approaching that 4-minute mark. Now, can you beat that scenery? Now, the Epic Cycle Series continues with the conclusion of the 2012 USA Pro Challenge tomorrow at 2 Eastern on NBC Sports Network, and continuing at 4 Eastern right here on NBC. Now, for the conclusion of today's stage 6 of the 2012 USA Pro Challenge, head on over now to the NBC Sports Network. But coming up right here, it's continued coverage of summer at Saratoga. Goodbye from us. Ourselves as to the overall standings at the start of this day, locked together like they have been for 4 days. TJ Van Garderen in yellow on countback, Christian Van der Velde is second. The other 3, Rodney, the defending champion Leipheimer and Brakovic, are only a handful of seconds behind. It could all change today as we head up towards the finish in Flagstaff Mountain.
No, well, that's what everybody's been expecting. This is the showdown day. There's the main field currently around about 3 minutes 45 seconds behind, but it's a long chase to get down towards the end.
Well, this breakaway got clear today and really got itself together about 10 miles into the stage of 102. Currently, we're about 36 miles now from the finish. basically descending down towards Lyons, which will take us through the 74-mile point. This is the composition of the leading group. The most dangerous man in it is Francisco Colorado for the Colombian on the EPM Una team. He's only looking for 42 seconds at the finish to be the next leader of this race with the time trial tomorrow. Jens Voigt, our favourite man, is in there again, and Craig Jones is also in this breakaway, and the Chinese rider Liu is also in this break. They're working pretty well together, most of them, some with much better interest back in the main field. They're not pushing the pace quite that hard, but the gap has started to creep up again. It's now made 4 minutes once more. Behind us is the Boulder Canyon, which is the main blob of that red. We're now heading to Lyons, which is the next sprint, and then we'll go across to the Lee Hill Road, which I feel will be where they will attack, as then they drop down into Boulder for a sprint again, and it's in Boulder where they start the ascent to the finish. An absolute brute of a climb, unforgiving at round about 14% gradient, and the race will finish right on the top of that climb. This is the peloton, and all day long they've been escorted by TJ Van Gardren's team BMC, but I can tell you the one-man short now. About an hour ago, Cadel Evans, the winner of the Tour de France in 2011, abandoned the race. We also lost the former US champion, Freddie Rodriguez. He's also given up. A little bit of a move going on here now as they start to get away from the field. Just having a look here. Well, this is Sergei Vetkov. He's an interesting move here for Team XUD. He won the waste management sprint in Boulder, so he's trying to make a little late bid for the waste management points competition. He'll have to get the next one at Lyons, and that might be what's in his mind right now. We're about 7 miles from Lyons itself, and there are 5 points available there in the waste management sprint, and that might be in the forefront of his mind just now. On this descent, the breakaway is continuing to nose ahead. It's now 4 minutes and 5 seconds. It came down to 3 minutes 20. And all of a sudden, a reversal again. Now, the local cyclists have told me that Lee Hill Road, which we top out at 89 miles today, is a real tough climb, as I see there that Vetkov has come back into the group. Maybe just freewheeled off the front there. See if anybody was watching. So expect an attack, and I expect it to come from Francisco Colorado on Lee Hill Road. All right, let's have a look at our Colorado Tourism stage facts then as we get stuck into this race today. You go to Boulder, under 2.8 miles. We've done all bar 2 of the sprint points. We've been over a couple of the climbs, big ones still to come, of course. We started in Golden last year to repeat town. It's our first time into Boulder, and more importantly, our first time up Flagstaff Mountain. It stands at 6,868 feet. So there's some interesting facts today. If you're not a climber, really, it's not much point in coming to the US Pro Challenge, because this is a very mountainous event. Not a lot for the sprinters, and yet Tyler Farrer's turned it around for the sprinters this year. He won the first stage, and he won again yesterday into Colorado Springs. Tim Duggan at the team car there, having a chat, the champion of the USA. We've been to his hometown of Netherlands today. A big cheers there were for him as well as he comes through. Well, let's have a look back then. Might be able to show you, Tim, at the story so far today. Smashburger signing, as always. Big cheers for Jens Voigt. Listen to the crowd here. This is in Golden at the start. He's won one stage into Beaver Creek, and he's in the breakaway right now, by the way. This is the rollout from Golden this morning, as they make towards the end of, we always have a neutralized section. Taylor Finney out on the front, and just a couple of miles down the road, Matt Bramier, the champion of Ireland, pushing on there with Jens Voigt on his back wheel as they try to get a breakaway on the move, and eventually they did get 14 riders together. They consolidated this break at about 9 miles out of the start. Came into the first sprint, which was our first time we saw Boulder, and look at the crowd in downtown Boulder. And there's a similar crowd up on the mountain where the race will actually finish. Big cheers there. Sergei Vetkov getting the sprint ahead of the Australian Rory Sutherland, United Healthcare, and Jens Voigt from Team Radio Shack Nissan. On to the first climb. It was a long climb to take us through 37 miles up Boulder Canyon, and the breakaway hanging on there. The big danger in this front group, to both Tommy Danielson's lead in the King of the Mountains and also overall, is Colorado. So Andy House, a teammate of Danielson's, took the maximum points, but Colorado got 9. He's consolidated his 3rd place and only 7 points off the leader's jersey here. These two boys, Carter Jones and Joey Roscoff, chased for absolutely ages before they fell back. into the main field. Then we had a little attack here by the New Zealand rider, George Bennett. He was trailed by Francisco Colorado, but they had a little chat and then decided it's a waste of time, let's go back. Goodness knows what language they were speaking in, but neither appeared to understand each other there. Into the Honey Stinger feed zone here, snatch the bags and keep on going. The break was coming down at just over 3 3/4 minutes at this point, with 48 miles still to race, but they've built on that again since. Now this is the catch of the two in between. They finally succumbed to the peloton, which was always under the tempo of BMC Racing. Less now Cadel Evans, who has abandoned. So that's us up to date now as we look down these beautiful canyons, and they're gorgeous here in the state of Colorado. The temperatures are starting to rise now. It's about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's likely to get a little bit hotter. It's a good weekend forecast for the big finale, especially tomorrow, when the riders will have a time trial into Denver for the finish of this race, which has been an extremely good race and shown off the state of Colorado at its very, very best. Now, Rory Sutherland with his hand up for United Healthcare wants to speak to somebody. Maybe he'll just want a drink, as Radio Shack got through to Jens Voigt there, and he's got his drink. Well, they're preoccupied at the moment. The gap continues to grow. We'll take a break. Time to get vertigo, is it, here on the Rocky Mountains of Colorado? That has taken them a while to get up. We've had an eye on them, but they're up there now. They're settled down and they're ready to watch the passage of the USA Pro Challenge. We still have these 14 leaders out in front, and they're still opening up the gap now. 4 minutes and 10 seconds. We're into the town of Lyons now, and the waste management sprint for the leaders. These are all of the names for you. The big danger man is Colorado. He's only 42 seconds off the race lead. Currently, of course, the leader on the road. Jens Voigt, our old friend, is in there again and is working. He's sat at the back at the moment, I think. And we've got Craig Jones in here and Lou. Now let's see the crowd cheer them through here. It's the waste management sprint. They just passed over. It was one of the EPN Uni riders who took it out. I would imagine it might be Team XG's Vetkov who's got the second sprint there again, because he'd be the most likely to do that. And there is the peloton now. Stepped up the pace, so the clock is telling us they've shut down a little bit. 4 minutes, 10 seconds. They're gambling on the climb of Lee Hill Road, which will come along in about 15 miles time. And that is a steep climb, which might be the springboard before we go back into Boulder, then up Flagstaff Mountain. It is a vicious climb. I'll tell you, it's the hardest climb of the race. So there is rider number 147. He's just won the sprint in Lyons, and that is Vetkov. So he's picked up 10 points now in that competition. He's starting to nose himself up in the race for the green jersey, currently being held by Tyler Farrer, who got the lead there after that victory yesterday in Colorado Springs. Good composition of the men willing to work here. We've had 2 riders abandon. I told you about Freddie Rodriguez. He gave up first. Then the Tour de France winner Cadel Evans has gone. We've also got Andy Badger-Darley has gone now into the broom wagon from the Optum team as well. There's 3 men we know is out. There he is, the Moldovan national time trial champion of a couple of years ago, Vetkov. And he's the winner. And wait for confirmation, because it was a long way to the front. It looked like there he is. He's slipping back down, having done his job. And yeah, 2 out of 2, that's right. He's won in Boulder, he's now won here in Lyons. The next stop, let's see you win over the top of the Lee Hill Road. That'll be the one. So let's find out more now on the riding telemetry from yesterday's stage. It's always an interesting feature. This is presented by Training Peaks, and here's Bob Rowe.
I'm here with Dirk Friel, the founder of Training Peaks. They give us the inside skinny on all the numbers produced by the peloton. What did you see on stage number 5?
Super fast day, stage 5, 117 miles in just over 4 hours. That was 30-mile-an-hour average. Throughout the entire day, the average speeds kept going up and up and up. They had climbs at the beginning that they got over, and then it was crazy fast. We saw really low heart rates today. Yanni Brakovic of Team Astana only averaged 130 heart rate. So pretty much recovery ride for that guy almost, except the final circuits were pretty difficult.
Favorable profile until you said, like you said, the final circuits, which were very fast. What kind of speeds were they seeing on the last 3 laps around Colorado Springs?
Yeah, top-notch speeds. They were coming out of the corners at 43 miles an hour. They averaged 34 miles an hour for the final circuits. And then, you know, in the end, it was the nitro-burning dragster that took it all the way to the finish, and no one else can match.
And where can people find out even more insight into the numbers produced by the peloton?
Go to trainingpeaks.com for more behind the numbers.
Thank you very much, Dirk.
Thanks, Bob.
Yes, it was a terrifically fast race yesterday. They were just under 30 miles an hour coming into Colorado Springs. No respect for today's stage, which is a little bit slower because, of course, it's much more mountainous. The gap still continues in the ascendancy. 4:15 now for the 14 riders out front. The chase must begin soon. And here are the race leaders update presented by United Healthcare. TJ Van Garderen has got the yellow jersey on his shoulders for the last couple of days, sponsored by Exidy. Now Tyler Farrer here in the waste management jersey on point. He got that back yesterday. Tom Danielson, long-time leader in the Nissan King of the Mountains, but never a safe one. While young Joe Dombrowski, the young 21-year-old youngster here in the Aquadrat Young Riders jersey. And yesterday, Vincenzo Nibali was voted the most aggressive rider for the Evolved Beverages leadership there. And well-deserved it was too. He tried to win the stage into Colorado Springs. So those are our leaders in the hot seat today. You can see the yellow one quite clearly. He's got his team all around him. They've lost Cadel Evans, the Tour de France winner of last year, but the rest are doing their jobs very well. The US flag there showing the crosswind now. Cheers for Big George Hincapie. And let's have a look now at Tom Danielson, somewhere in the peloton, because he's under pressure not only to win the day in front of our home crowd, but also to try and consolidate his lead in the Nissan King of the Mountains competition. Well, let's find out more about our Nissan King leader in Tom Danielson. He's the subject of today's athlete profile, presented by New Belgium.
You know, after 2012 Tour de France, you know, I went in with big expectations.
That is a sad sight. On the right-hand side of the road there, that is Tommy Danielson, and I'm afraid to say I don't think he'll continue now.
Was hoping to be a contender for the podium, and I felt like I had a great opportunity, and to hit the deck like I did, you know, it left me with a really sour taste in my mouth. The positive was that in 2 months, essentially, there's a race in my home state. You know, it's really been my medicine to get over this. You know, Colorado is famous for its mountains and its high altitude, but the race really explores all kinds of different areas at very high elevation, and that really makes a different beast, a different animal of a race. It definitely favors a rider like myself.
As he comes up to the line, he gets the victory. That was a great finish.
And it was just freaking awesome, and I'm proud. Give me a kiss.
That was our new Belgian athlete profile on Tommy Danielson, quite clearly a close friend of Bob Roll there. He's having a great race, I have to tell you. He's 34 years of age now. He got his first crack at the Tour de France last year. At the first attempt, he finished in 8th place. 4th overall in this event last year, and I think we'll see him with a high finish, but we'll know that a little bit later on today when we come up the climb of Flagstaff here in Boulder. He knows that hill so well, and he's waiting. So like a lot of riders here, I think they'll start to make a move on the Lee Hill Road as we go through 90 miles there, and that gap may start to be seen to crumble by then, but there's still a lot of work to do. 4 minutes 20 seconds. They're holding their own up front. The man they're most worried about, Francisco Colorado, all the way from Colombia. With a name like Colorado, that man surely has a future. Time to take on the ever-important little tidbits to keep the energy in the tank as they race towards the last 2 major climbs of the day. We're going into the last 25 miles now as we head towards Flagstaff. Now, did you know Boulder was the first city in the nation to adopt a carbon tax, a tax assessed on electricity use? Funds from the tax pay for the implementation of climate action plan programs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. All right, well, let's catch up now with Steve Perino in the race.
On the Columbia, and the pack here has been negotiating with him, trying to get him out. What he's saying is that he wants the King of the Mountain jersey. Well, they were thinking he would drop back at the top of Boulder Canyon, and he didn't. and clearly he's still in there, and they're hoping that he'll drop back at the top of this KOM. But I just talked to Radio Shack Nissan. They said at this point, they don't trust him.
Thanks, Steve. Well, we're talking, of course, about Francisco Colorado there. You stay where you are, Francisco, and don't listen to those riders. You can drop them on the next climb because you're the better climber. There he is in our screen at the moment. He's consolidated his third place, but more importantly, he's only 7 points behind the red jersey now worn by Tom Danielson. So why should he drop back? And what the riders mean was if he dropped back, maybe the field wouldn't chase them because there's nobody going to win the race left up there. And then they might stay away for the whole stage. And that's why they want him to go back to the pack. Taylor Phinney working hard. What a brilliant Olympic Games this man had. Dare I tell you where he comes from? Boulder, Colorado, where everybody does who rides a bike well. And Taylor is the son of Davis Phinney, a Tour de France stage winner, and Connie Carpenter Phinney, the first woman ever to win the gold medal in the women's road race when it was introduced at Mission Viejo in Los Angeles in 1984. The Olympic Games. I had a great pleasure of calling a very close finish there between Connie and Rebecca Twigg. The cameras could hardly split them. Two Americans. What a finish in Los Angeles that was. Well, Taylor did his own Olympics just a few weeks ago and he got 2 fourth places. And so that was a great result for Taylor Phinney as well. So now let's see what's going on at the Nissan Innovation That Excites. I hear that Andreas Kloden had a recent joyride in a Nissan. Let's watch.
After 2011 Tour of California, Nissan sent me the GTR to have for the next 6 months. It was fabulous. And Nissan's been nice enough this year to let me drive around a little in Colorado. And I actually get a little free time to do so. What's not to love about the GTR? It's got handling, it's got speed, it's got brakes, and it's got beauty. We just got done racing 12,500 feet here in Colorado, Aspen. Oh, wait a minute. Cody!
Well, that's our Innovation That Excites. I don't think Horner was excited there, was he, as Andreas Kloden has stolen his great car there. I bet he wouldn't give it back either. Well, we're back with the action right now as we're seeing again, there's clearly concern now on the faces of Team BMC. A bit more serious attempts now, Paul. They're no longer smiling faces on Team BMC. They want to get this breakaway back. Now is the time to move. They've brought it back to 4 minutes.
Yep, well, that's the important thing. They've got to stay together as a solid block for as long as possible. It's because they have the overall leader, TJ Van Garderen, in that Exeter yellow jersey there, that they're being forced to do all of the pacemaking.
Yes, the pressure's always on the team with the leader on it. Every weekday morning, wake up and turn on the lights. Get all your sports in half the time with an all-new show that lets the highlights do the talking. The Lights, weekday mornings on the NBC Sports Network. Lovely shot of the peloton here. About 100 riders will see the start tomorrow from the 124 that set off last Monday. There is Tom Danielson, very concerned about the destiny of his red jersey, but more concerned about whether he can win the stage in front of his family today on top of Flagstaff Mountain in Boulder. We continue to close in. Welcome back. We're on stage 6 today of the USA Pro Challenge, and today's stage presented by Nissan as we race to the top of Flagstaff Mountain above Boulder en route from Golden. It's quite a long way, 103 miles today. Weather conditions are gloriously warm. The wind is light, the crowd is huge. What more would you want? TJ Van Garderen is the rider in the lead. A perfect scenario for him. He lives in Boulder. And so if he can keep that yellow jersey tonight, he'll be a very, very happy man. Maybe he'll tell us something about that right now, because we can go back to earlier today when he spoke with Bob Roll.
TJ, today is one of the stages that the overall title hinges on. What are your expectations for today, finishing at the top of a very tough climb to Flagstaff Mountain?
Well, I think out of all the teams in the race, I think this is probably one of the only ones that could control the day, because the team's been riding so strong. It's going to be a battle on Flagstaff, but I think I'm ready for it.
Garmin Sharp has put guys in the breakaway every day. They've been very aggressive. What are your tactics going to be if they start attacking early?
Well, today is a little different because it doesn't start on a climb, so it might be easier for us to get a break established, and hopefully we can stretch out the gap, give them a bit of time before we get to Boulder Canyon, so that way we can kind of keep everything relaxed and in control, and then just bring it to the base of Flagstaff.
Well, looking ahead till tomorrow's stage, your time trialing this year has been exceptional. What's the ideal scenario at the end of today's stage up a big mountain?
I think really all I need to do is follow, because I'm confident in my time trials. So as long as if I finish today on the same time as Christian, I think I can come away with it tomorrow.
All right, TJ, best of luck.
Thank you.
TJ, on the 12th of August, he was just 24 years of age. What a future that man has got ahead of him. He's Tour de France this year. He won the white jersey. Now, they just made the turn, a left-hand turn onto left-hand canyon. No joke. And as they make the way up left-hand canyon now, the next they'll shortly be on the slopes of Lee Hill Road. It'll top out at 89 miles covered. So we're about 5.5 miles from the top of the climb.
Well, this is the time now, Phil, when they've got to see that time gap tumble. Before the top of the climb, I would think they would expect to take that time gap from 4 minutes down to 2 minutes. If it doesn't tumble to that amount, it's going to start to look very, very good for a certain rider from Colombia by the name of Francisco Colorado, who's only looking for 42 seconds to take the lead away from TJ Van Garderen.
It's not a lot. I don't know how well he time trials Colorado. I've never heard of him before now. But if he gets the lead, you know, you get the yellow jersey, it means you're last to start in the time trial tomorrow. TJ Van Garderen has said that he doesn't need to win the day. He just needs not to lose too much time, because he's so confident about his performance in the time trial tomorrow. And he's ridden time trials so well all year.
Yep, and it was really, he consolidated his position in the Tour de France in that final individual time trial. The time trials at the Tour de France were very, very long this year, 50 kilometers long and 40 kilometers long. And it was in those time trials that TJ Van Garderen was able to pull himself up towards that 5th place overall.
Christian van der Velde, who's equal first, really, only on points count back on the daily finishes, is he in 2nd place. He finished 2nd this race a year ago, 11 seconds behind Levi Leipheimer. So despite all these mountains of Colorado, and there are some absolute brutes, it's amazing how close these riders stay together.
Yeah, well, Phil, I mean, when you look at the top 10 riders in the overall standings, the top 10 riders are only separated by 17 seconds.
Yeah, so it's crucial today. So as we look at the peloton here, continuing to course through, the gap is 4 minutes. I feel as we get further up this canyon, that gap will start to come down now. We're heading into the showdown moments of the day. And welcome back, and as you rejoin us, this literally has just happened. Jens Voigt has lifted the acceleration. I'm sorry about the picture stopping on us like that, but Jens Voigt has just made a move here to break away from the field. And he's immediately been chased by Francisco Colorado, who's just trying to get across. We'll try and show you that here. There was the head of the breakaway. It wasn't to be expected. He seemed to be going up the hill quite regularly. And then Voigt put in big pressure at the front. We've got Vetkov in the white jersey. These are the two Colombians quickly reacting to the move. But it was a double-headed attack here by Radio Shack. And the other rider with him is George Bennett, who went away earlier on with Colorado, and they opted to go back into the field. Well, once those big legs of Jens Voigt start firing, he'll now be saying to them, don't hurt, just keep going. And Shadow, keep up with me, as he'll drive on. They've got to chase him, because I'll tell you, he won't be waiting for them. He's the winner of the race-long breakaway into Beaver Creek a couple of days ago. Let's just look down on the peloton here as we see the peloton under pressure by Team BMC. That's where we are now, 85.3 miles. We've been through lines. We're heading now towards the top of the Lee Hill Road here before we descend back into Boulder itself. And then wait till you see the climb out of Flagstaff Mountain. Not only is it stunningly beautiful, but it's very steep. Consternation on the faces of Garmin. They won't even know what's happening. It might be good news for them if they're imploding the breakaway up front, because that stopped all the working together of those 18 men up there. Well, we've seen some good young riders here on the USA Development Squad, so let's find out more about USA Cycling's development program with Bob Rowe.
I'm here with Sean Petty, the COO of USA Cycling, the governing body of the sport of cycling in the United States. Tell us a little bit about the development programs that are in place there at USA Cycling.
Well, we run a program that's based in Europe and really immerses the riders in that type of racing, in that atmosphere, in order to develop to become pros. And we're seeing so many of the alumni here at the USA Pro Challenge, and of course with TJ and others being among the favorites. It's very gratifying to see the development of the youth at this point in their careers.
Besides TJ Van Garderen, who are some of the other athletes that have come through the program?
Well, there's Timmy Dugan and, of course, Taylor Finney. More recently, Dave Zabriskie was one of our earlier alumni, but we've got them peppered throughout the teams that are here in the Pro Challenge this week, and look for them to make a lot of noise and contributions as well.
And how edifying is it to see the young guys mixing up with the established veteran and some of the best professionals in the game?
Oh, it's fantastic to see them doing so well so early. You know, Taylor at such a young age, TJ at really a relatively young age, and of course being able to see George on the back end of his career is a great opportunity for all these guys and us in general.
All right, well, thank you, Sean, and best of luck with all the USA athletes on this week's race.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean and Bob. It's always good to see the youngsters coming through. Joe Dombrowski in here in the Best Young Riders jersey at the moment. Now, there's only one, and believe it or not, George Bennett, the teammate of Jens Voigt, has been catapulted ahead, and Voigt has dropped back. We'll show you how that happened. All of a sudden, Bennett goes on. I don't know what happened, but it looks to me as though Jens Voigt has absolutely cracked here. He's just shaking his head, almost gasping for air. And he's seen his young teammate go on up the road on his own. So Bennett alone in the lead. I'm not too sure what happened to Jens there, Paul, but he seemed to hit oxygen debt.
I think basically he was just trying to set up the move for his teammate Phil. He went very, very hard. He pulled George Bennett off the front of the group, and then all of a sudden, if you remember just yesterday when he touched his thighs and they were rather hot, I think the same thing happened to him today.
Yes, they're very hot today, too hot to touch. Anyway, Jens Voigt has dropped back, Bennett out front. The peloton now trying to pick up the pace. The gap has come down to 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Plenty of pacemaking being done there as they now close down on that gap. And remember, tomorrow the Epic Cycle Series will continue with the conclusion of this amazing race, the USA Pro Challenge. We'll begin our coverage at 2 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network, and it will conclude at 4 Eastern on NBC. Make a note of that. There's the breakaway now. A little bit of a different number of riders, no longer 14. They've attacked each other. They've split up with the effort. We've got George Bennett, and there he is out front now. Now, this is a good move coming from an unexpected quarter here. What on earth happened to Francisco Colorado? It's now George Bennett of New Zealand going for gold. Let's have a look then at the top American standings after stage 5 of the USA Pro Challenge presented by USA Cycling. Still locked together. It's been the old story for a few days. This Van Garderen and Christian van der Velde keep swapping places in the leaderboard. Levi Leipheimer is in 4th. Joe Dombrowski now in 6th place, just 12 seconds behind. Could be some special prize coming for him today. Tom Downson in 8th, 15 seconds behind. Could all change by the time we reach the finish today. And indeed, one name you may not have mentioned to you is George Bennett here, the New Zealand rider, who is only 22 years of age, and he's turning on the style today. He's 4th place in the young rider standings, but if he keeps riding like this, he might find himself a little bit higher up. He joined Team Radio Shack as a trainee in 2011, and clearly they like his style of riding. So, as we now look at the peloton, still under the escort, casually so, of Team BMC, we can learn a little bit more now about the Cannondale bike. It's Ted King's, in fact, and here's Bob Roll to tell us more about that.
Ted King is one of the top bike racers in the world. He races for the Liquigas Cannondale squad, one of the top teams in the world. I'm here with the team liaison, Rory Mason, to take us through Ted King's race machine for the road stages.
That's right. This is the Cannondale Super 6 Evo. It's a bike that we're extremely proud of. It's
You know, it's a high-performance machine on all sorts of terrain, whether you're climbing, you're descending, sprinting, what have you. Even on the roads of Roubaix, this bike's going to be super lightweight, super rigid, but also very comfortable for those really long stages.
Take us through the manufacturing process to balance out all of those different parameters.
Yeah, it's really a secret to the selection of the carbon, how you lay it up, the different layers, and how you orient fibers, and very technical stuff, but also what you do with the tube shapes, how you join them, and this is a bike that every inch of it is just optimized for pure performance.
Well, best of luck in this week's race.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed. In fact, Ted King abandoned the race 2 days ago, one of the 24 riders to have stopped the journey around Colorado here. But now they're working out how they can catch up with George Bennett. His best performance, I think, Bennett up front, is his third place finish on the second stage in the team time trial in the Tour of Utah recently. That was an indication, Paul, that these other riders trying to break in now to BMC, or at least take closer order.
Well, I think, you know, all of a sudden, team Garmin Sharp here, Phil, they're starting to panic a fraction because, you know, they're not the ones who have done very much in the breakaway this afternoon, and they could also be throwing away a chance of overall victory if they give the rider in the breakaway, Francisco Colorado, too much of a lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jens Voigt has really put this young man, his first full year with Team Radio Shack, he started training with them towards the end of last year, George Bennett. He's only 22. And here we have a man now trying to get through this crowd and come up towards the top of the Lee Hill Road. And a perfect position to go for gold and the top of Flagstaff Mountain. So as we look at the big crowd here approaching the top of Lee Hill Road, it's a good time to remind ourselves at the Road ID Challenge fan predictions. You've gone 31% on TJ Van Garden, still a very good chance, 14% on Levi Leipheimer, 8 for Tommy Danson, that's a bit mean, and 6 for Christian van der Velde, also a little bit low, I think. Don't forget, you go to roadid.com/ride, make your predictions for the last stage tomorrow, the time trial. There's the lone figure, the 22-year-old New Zealand rider, George Bennett here. He finished 14th overall in the recent Tour of Utah, so he's carrying a good pair of legs, and he's saved it for today by the look of it. He's gone hunting for that breakaway. He got in the breakaway. Must have spoken with Jens Voigt, who gave him 100% effort to launch him into the lead, and then he's fallen back. Now it's up to George Bennett to see if he can win this stage. The peloton is at 3 minutes 40. Well, moments ago, take a look at the crowd here. This is George Bennett, the Kiwi who rides for Radio Shack, topping at the Lee Hill Road. What a crowd. They must have imported this crowd from somewhere else, because there's thousands in Boulder and even more thousands on Flagstaff Mountain. He's gone over the top. He's being chased by Francisco Colorado, who now has taken 9 points there, so he now leads the King of the Mountains competition by just a couple of points. So it's all gone down to the last climb of the day, and indeed the last mountain of this race. So if Colorado stays away, he'll win the Nissan King of the Mountains. There's the chasing group that he left, and that's Jens Voigt there trying to get back onto the tail of the group there, finding some strength from somewhere, having put his youngster Team Bennett into the George Bennett into the lead. The peloton at 1 kilometre, they're approximately now 3/4 of a mile at the absolute most behind George Bennett as they come up over the top of the climb. At this point, just under 3/4 of a mile behind George Bennett out in front. Now, as we go back up to the leaders, it is Colorado who has come back up to George Bennett. Two very dangerous riders now. Well, Colorado, Paul, heading out for not just victory in the King of the Mountains, but also possible victory in the race. There's only 42 seconds he's looking for. Joined at the front by George Bennett. So the two riders clear. This is the chase back here, small group of riders as well, and they're regrouping. Jens Voigt, who launched George Bennett into the lead, coming back onto this group. They're reforming, and they probably will reform a lot now, because this is a long descent down into the next sprint point in Boulder itself. After that, it's all uphill to the finish.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Phil. If you just had a quick look at the Colombian riders at the front end of the main field as we went over Lee Hill Road there, we've put Lee Hill Road behind us now. There is only one climb left on the day once we've gone through that sprint point in Boulder, and it is Flagstaff Mountain. There were 3 Colombians in the first 3 positions of the main field, and it looked as if they really wanted to go. That's what the finishing climb is like once we've gone through the sprint point, but it actually starts to climb a little bit till we get to the sprint point in Boulder, and then the last 10 kilometers up towards the summit, there is no respite.
This is a nice section as we descend through the woods now down into Boulder itself. I think we're going to see quite a vicious chase down here now, because the riders are beginning to know that they've got to really get this gap closed down. It's at 3:10 across the board now to George Bennett from the peloton. Keep turning left, boys. It looks as though it's a tricky old bend, that one. As they head down the mountain now, Boulder is the next stop, and after Boulder, we'll be on to the Battle of Flagstaff Mountain. See you in a moment. Let's have a look then at our United Healthcare race summary of the story so far before we get back to the action. It all started, 18 men have got together at the front. Vetkov won the sprint at the start of the day. We came into Boulder. Andy Howes won the climb of the Boulder Canyon. George Bennett then attacked with Francisco Colorado, but they got caught. Vetkov then won the sprint into Lines, and then Jens Voigt launched an attack which put George Bennett in the lead. But they're now back in a 6 or 8 man group which is reformed at the front. And there they are now. So they were picked up by 6 riders, including Jens Voigt, who's got himself right onto the front again. The gap is coming down as we go through the streets of Boulder now, which means that it's not long before we start the climb to the finish. And still Francisco Colorado, the best placed man, just 42 seconds off the yellow jersey, is in this group. So this is a most serious attack now, and the way it looks to me is the peloton are now at only 2 minutes 15. It really is going to be showdown on Flagstaff, because I don't think they're going to catch these before we start the steep slopes of that finishing climb. There's Vetkov, number 147, had a great day out so far. And we're looking at Francisco Colorado on our Radio Shack tracker there. Still under attack, just gone straight off the front, went straight off the front wheel of Colorado there. Now we're going to get a lot of these now. That'll be Vetkov, I think, going for the points. Well, it looks, Paul, as though it might well be Sergei Vetkov trying to pick up the waste management sprint points as they come into Boulder here. And it is indeed as he makes the move, or is it? No, it's the other Colombian rider who's put the move in here. This is Oyola.
Yeah, Oyola was the rider in that group, and they're just trying to keep the pressure nice and high. They're forcing the other riders to come up behind him because they realise over the next couple of kilometres they've got a very good chance of taking the overall lead in this race. This has been a great team. We saw them last year when they first came to the US Pro Challenge, and defending champion Levi Leipheimer sitting and waiting, biding his time, wondering has he got the form to produce a very, very special performance on the slopes of this final climb. You know, he has not used very much energy at all during the whole of these 6 days of racing so far.
Absolutely right. And he said, let Garmin Sharp and let BMC fight out amongst themselves. I'm well placed, and he's very happy where he is in 4th place overall. But this man quite clearly wasn't happy any longer. But look at this. Jens Voigt has stormed across the gap, nailed the breakaway, and put him back in his place.
I'll just give you a little piece of advice, Phil. Don't mess about with Jens Voigt. He will, if anything's got a number on its back, he will chase it down. He wants to keep this group together because he still feels there's a chance for his own teammate, George Bennett from New Zealand, to get a victory. Because Bennett, even though he's only 22 years of age, a former winner of the Tour of Wellington in New Zealand, is an extremely good climber.
Well, I'll tell you, he has to be a very strong rider if he races in Wellington, because that town is always ripped by very high winds. There's another attack, and this is Bertagliati now, once a leader of the Tour de France, when he surprisingly won a stage of the race in Luxembourg a few years back now. He's off into the distance for Team Type 1. That was a good move, taken from a perfect position, and there's his audience to cheer him on.
Well, he's also a rider who's 41 years of age. He turned 41 on July the 27th this year, and using all of his experience. And again, it's Jens Voigt doing the pacemaking behind him in that jersey with the black shoulders. He's pegging everybody back here, and all of this is bringing these riders closer and closer to the sprint point in downtown Boulder.
Well, we got Jens Voigt at 41 next month. We got Bottoliati. I'm surprised you said that, Paul. I really didn't think he was that old, but you are right. He's 41. There's two riders there with an average age of 41.
Well, that's very good. Well worked out. I always knew you were a great mathematician.
Thank you very much. Again, it is the other 41-year-old, almost next month, Jens Voigt, who's taking the group across again.
Well, it's 2 minutes is the gap from this leading group of riders back to the main fielder. But now I think you can see the expression on Bertogliati's face here. He really paid for that effort at altitude here. We're around about just inside of 6,000 feet. And Jens Voigt prepared to keep it nice and high as he lines himself up for downtown Colorado and Boulder. Now listen to the fans as he comes around this corner.
Well, just look at this now. This is the crowd here now in Boulder. They've been waiting for a couple of hours while the rides have been out front, checking everything out. Now it's Colorado looking over his shoulder, see if there's any signs of the peloton coming behind. And as Jens Voigt brings them through Boulder, Colorado, we'll have to take a break, but when we come back, we should be swinging and set further for the climb of Flagstaff Mountain. See you in a few moments. Well, Jens Voigt was first through the spin. This is the peloton coming through. The crowd are going absolutely berserk here. Taylor Phinney, the hometown boy, brings them through with George Incapi. Well, we're sat just outside the finishing line there of that sprint, and we can only just about hear ourselves commentating. A terrific round of enthusiasm. The next stop is the base of the climb up the mountain. As they disappear through the trees there momentarily, it is still Team BMC trying to negotiate. Now, people like Phinney, Tom Danielson, TJ Van Garderen all live here in Boulder, Colorado. They've trained on the hill. They know the importance, Paul, of being near the front because the road becomes rather narrow.
It's a very narrow road, and you probably see almost a charge to the line. We've left all of the difficulties behind us right now. The two big climbs, the first one, Boulder Canyon, the next one, Lee Hill Road. Now it's all about this. This is what the race profile looks. We've left behind us the sprint point, and yes, it actually gradually climbs up till we get to the start of the climb, the final climb of the day, Flagstaff Mountain, and we're not too far away from the bottom of the climb.
I think this is more or less it, the bottom of the climb of Flagstaff. It gets a little bit more narrow. These are the survivors. Lars Mikkelsen on the right in the car, shouting at George Bennett and Jens Voigt. Bennett's the man they're pinning their hopes on, number 33, on the left of those two riders. Voigt has tried to get him away. It hasn't worked out. They did implode the breakaway, got rid of 6 of them. There's still 8 of them here, as now everybody starts to enjoy the climb. The climb of Flagstaff Hill. It's 6,868 feet, and look at that. The attack has gone.
And it's Jens Voigt.
Yes.
Again, he was sitting at the back there as if he was in difficulty, and he said, no, boy. He said, the funny thing is he's got this logo written down the front of his bike and right down the middle of his top tube. It says, shut up, legs. Well, I'll tell you what, they are screaming out in pain to him at this moment.
Is there no holding this man? I really thought it was his farewell song when he got Bennett into the lead. Now he's gone again. This will cause the rest of the breakaway to counter the move. They'll carry Bennett up there, maybe. Then Bennett might have the legs to finish it off. But right now, Jens Voigt is launching himself onto the bottom of Flagstaff Mountain. There's no more respite now, and the bad news is it gets even harder.
Well, I'll tell you what is an interesting fact. The other day we were providing some information by Training Peaks, a company that monitors a lot of the riders, and Jens Voigt was peaking at 800 watts. 4 times he peaked at 800 watts in the first 15 minutes of the race. I wonder if he's got that kind of wattage available this afternoon.
We'll plug him in here and charge all our television monitors up, I reckon, and that'll be good for the rest of the race. Well, there's Voigt. Look at the time. He's lost 8 minutes and 52 seconds. He sits 39th. That's never been his ambition to win this race. He's won a stage into Beaver Creek with a virtual race-long breakaway on his own, and now here he goes again. And this breakaway is still hanging on. 2 minutes exactly is the latest time check we have. 2 minutes you would think it would be enough with only 4 miles to go. But I'm not so sure. Not on this slope.
Well, Jens Voigt really has the heart of a lion to make a move like this. He tried to set up the move a little bit earlier on for his teammate. There's somebody coming across the gap there, and it looks as if it might just be his own teammate, George Bennett, because it had black shoulders on the jersey.
Well, that's the climb. It goes right around the bend. It gradually gets steeper. It sits on the side of Flagstaff Mountain here. It kicks up the higher we get, by the way. Well, we're with the leader, Paul, and we wait to see if our cameras can pick up whoever is trying to cross the gap. I can't think of anybody else in the race with a black top on his jersey at the moment in this leading group.
Well, it's always difficult to pick up and identify from the helicopter shot at about 3,000 to 4,000 feet above the main field. This style is inimitable. It's the style of Jens Voigt. Looks over his shoulder there. He's wondering whether or not this is exactly what he wanted to do, to try and set this move up again for his own teammate. That was why he had that crafty little look back over his shoulder.
Oh, I tell you, the way Voigt is looking over his shoulder there, I think he's expecting a counter move to come. It must be part of a plan again, hatched when Lars Mikkelsen came up and the two riders were at the back of that breakaway. The sun is out, the bottle just got frost. That is Jens Voigt's favourite saying. How did they know that?
Well, I think everybody loves this man in the sport of cycling. He really is a tough competitor, and he will never give up. He wants to race, and he races right the way down until he drops. And here he's trying to set something up, and I'm sure he's trying to set it up and toughen this breakaway group up for his own teammate, George Bennett. But that was nice of those people to be standing at the side there. That's why the riders feel they love to come here and race in the United States. Well, it's not, it's Rory Sutherland.
Rory Sutherland who's crossed the gap, and Rory Sutherland's a strong climber, and Joyan Voigt at the front.
Well, Rory Sutherland, number 71, just comes up to the wheel there of Jens Voigt. The main field are still a long, long way behind, but listen to these crowds as Rory Sutherland accelerates away.
Well, Rory's gone right past Jens, and he's got a very, very good rhythm going here. As he rides, he's an Australian, but he certainly rides and has done for a long time on American teams. He's currently with United Healthcare. He is a man on good form and a real danger here. And of all the people we forgot to tell you about, I think it probably is Rory Sutherland, because this man has all the qualifications to stay away to the finish.
Yes, he won the first stage of the Tour of Utah just over a week ago, so he's obviously got form. He's obviously quite used to the altitude. And as you can see, Sutherland getting himself down into the ribbon. We're not at all surprised to see this, Phil, because this is the Colombian team, and they are going ballistic now.
And it looks like it is Castablanco who's pushed on the move. He's just seen his two Colombian teammates, Colorado and Arola, caught there from the leading breakaway, and immediately he saw them coming back. He thought, right, now's my turn to keep the Colombian flag flying. And that has caused quite a consternation back in the field.
Yeah, but Team BMC are still not rattled by that acceleration. They've still got a rider there to look after TJ Van Garderen, who sits there in second place. Locked onto the wheel now of TJ Van Garderen is Levi Leipheimer, the defending champion, who is only looking for a few seconds to grasp the overall lead himself.
Well, this is the Colombian rider. I'm pretty sure it is Jorge Castablanco. The only other man it would be Rafael Infantino, and our pictures aren't going to help me in identification at the moment as they continue to wind the way up Flagstaff here. And just look at this crowd. Everybody's had to walk. You can see there's no vehicles allowed here from way back in Boulder. They were walking up this mountain at 7 o'clock this morning, and they're seeing an Australian in an American team riding up first at the moment in Rory Sutherland.
Well, Sutherland's got a good rhythm going here. He sat in that group waiting for the moment to pounce. The Colombian rider has now been pulled back into the main field, as we can start to see Garmin Sharp are now trying to set something up for either Tommy Danielson or Van der Velde.
We're heading for the leader now. It is 5 kilometers or 3 miles to the summit. As we're looking now at the leader in the Best Young Rider competition, Joe Dombrowski set the pace at the front here. This is one of the newcomers, 21 years of age. Van der Garderen now is moving slowly through the pack. We need Levi's on his wheel, Leipheimer. We We want to see Christian van der Velde coming up as well.
Well, also in the orange and white jersey, not his normal jersey, Vincenzo Nibali, the most aggressive rider of yesterday, is sitting right in with all of the action there. But in fact, Christian van der Velde just sitting a little bit further back, trying to stay in contact.
Well, the crowd is dense here, to say the least. They're on a left-hand bend at the moment. The riders, the pressure is on. It's still Rory Sutherland. 4 wins under his belt this year. Up ahead, but the pressure being pushed on now from this very, very select group. And you know, Vincenzo Nibali, 3rd in the Tour de France, a former winner of the Tour of Spain. He's the rider in the orange jersey there of yesterday's most aggressive rider, the orange and white stripes. For me, that man is planning to win the stage today. Van Garderen in yellow in 3rd is planning to win the stage. Levi Leipheimer is 4th as we look down the mountain. Christian van der Velde is coming across to join them.
Well, let's not forget, Rory Sutherland is still leading this bike racer by around about 1.5 minutes. He's inside of the final 3 miles of the race, up towards the top. He wants that photographer to get out of the way, please. I'm concentrating on putting a lot of pain into myself here. There's the acceleration from Dąbrowski. This is a fantastic move.
Well, Dąbrowski, the 21-year-old kid who said yesterday he fancied his chances on the mountain tomorrow. And look at this. He's as true as his word, this man. He won the young Giro d'Italia, for, if you like, for amateur riders. We don't use the term anymore. They're all called elite cyclists, but they are for young riders, and he's won that race this year. That tags him as a real talent, but they're after him, Paul, and they've got him.
Well, he won 2 stages in that baby Giro and won the race overall, and he is a fantastic climber. He was pegged down there by one of the Colombian riders, TJ Van Garderen, sitting in 3rd place in the yellow jersey. On his wheel is a rider who finished 3rd in the Tour de France this year, Vincenzo Nibali. They've lost a little bit of impetus now, that final acceleration. Now look at this, is Nibali going forward.
Now this is an interesting move. Vincenzo Nibali. Nibali is not a man that's going to be a marked man initially, because he can't win the race. He's lost too much time. Look at the crowd for Rory Sutherland as they continue through. Rory Sutherland heading up here now as an American tries to keep pace with him, but not for long, because Sutherland is riding on a wave of noise.
No, he's doing a great job. His cadence looks very good. His pedaling style is very smooth as he goes through this crowd here. He must really be boosted on by the enthusiasm of this crowd here this afternoon. But behind, they are throwing everything at each other, because they realise that Nibali goes again over the corner there to try and get himself a stage victory this afternoon. Looks back to see Joe Dąbrowski coming across the gap.
It's a textbook move by Nibali. I think we all called it, you know. This man has spent the week training to try and win the world titles. In the month of September, watch the results of the World Professional Road Race Championship, because this man is taking his training very seriously indeed.
Well, if he can take his training and get himself a victory, look at the way he's going round that corner. I must remind you, if you're watching this at home, we are actually going uphill at speeds like this. 3 kilometres to go for the leader, Rory Sutherland, but Vincenzo Nibali must think he's got the Tifosi and the supporters all the way from Italy.
Well, these pictures are belying the crowds who watch the Tour de France, or indeed the Giro d'Italia. We've gone out into a little vacuum for the moment with the leader, Rory Sutherland, who's keeping that steady tempo going. He's still got time on his side. He's inside 1.5 miles from the finish now, and he's just concentrated. There's a lovely picture that we can see, and the crowd can't. They twist the way up this incredible mountain above Boulder.
Well, it's a magnificent race so far, as Rory Sutherland is still leading this bike race, holding on to a slight advantage, but he knows that the riders behind him will be hitting this climb very, very hard indeed, and a minute at the start of the climb can get wiped away over the last mile if he starts to crack. But looking at his pedaling style there, Phil, he looks very comfortable.
Another counter remove here. We've got another little move coming back here as Team Type 1 have got into the picture.
No, that's Bertogliati who's being caught from that leading group of riders. You can see this is a great ride here by Nibali. He's now being joined by Levi Leipheimer, makes the move go.
Well, this is a bid to win the race here before the time trial tomorrow by last year's defending champion. Well, TJ Van Garderen is going to have to come after him in that yellow jersey, because this is a move by Levi Leipheimer. He said all week, let the infight fighting continued between TJ's BMC team and Christian van der Velde's Garmin Sharp team, because he was very happy to wait.
He sat in the pack throughout the whole of the first 6 days of this bike race, gambling everything, Phil, on this final climb of the day. He needs just 8 seconds to take the overall lead away from TJ van Garderen. He's an experienced professional bike rider, and already that looks to me as if he's got those 8 seconds.
Well, he's picked up Sergei Vetkov there. He's been in action all day, winning the sprints at Boulder and at Lyons. He's gone back to the peloton now. This man is oblivious to what's going on behind him. He has only one ambition, that is to win this glorious stage on top of Flagstaff Hill.
Well, he's got just inside of 1.5 miles to go. That's 2 and a bit kilometers. Unfortunately for him, that's 6 to 8 minutes of effort when you're going uphill, but he won't be concerned about that. He's just trying to keep his legs ticking over at that nice high cadence of his. But Levi Leipheimer has laid his whole reputation on this final climb. He is the defending champion. He won this bike race last year, and one by one, he's picking up all of the riders who were in that breakaway. The rider just ahead of him there is Jens Voigt. He's the next victim.
Well, we'll fight to hold our pictures here, because the overall situation at the start of the day will remind you, equal on time, Van Garderen and Van der Velde. Leipheimer started the day 4th, 8 seconds off yellow. If he wins by 8 or 9 seconds, he will get the yellow, and he's a very, very good time trial rider for tomorrow. So this could bring it to an absolute crescendo when the race finishes with a time trial in Denver tomorrow. Leipheimer is gambled on all or nothing today.
Well, that's what it's all about for Levi Leipheimer, but what a finale it's going to make going into the individual time trial tomorrow, because TJ van Garderen is a very good individual time trialist. Look at the face on Levi Leipheimer. He is in his own personal purgatory here this afternoon. He knows how to hurt himself. He knows how important this move is today, and the gap is really opening up for Levi Leipheimer. I would say it's 10 to 15 seconds. He currently is riding into the overall lead.
He most certainly is, and the yellow jersey being trailed by Christian van der Velde, the two inseparable twins down there who go everywhere together, are now put onto the back burner by Levi Leipheimer. Remember, this is a rider who fractured his fibula when he was hit by a car in April. He came back and got fit enough just about to start in the Amgen Tour for California. He's now got his legs here in the USA Pro Challenge. There's the leader. He's still ahead, Rory Sutherland, but the race for the yellow is coming up right now.
Well, Levi Leipheimer, I make it now, Phil, has got himself about a 20-second advantage over TJ van Garderen. Van Garderen now starting to get some assistance. Look at that little move there. He's looking underneath his arm there to see if he can see the shadow of anybody else coming forward. He's riding an individual time trial now, and as we look there you can start to see that Joe Dombrowski once again puts the hammer there, and coming across the gap, Christian van der Velde, and in a little bit of difficulty, the yellow jersey just gets himself back onto that group, TJ van Garderen.
And the one man we've seen nothing of, the red jersey of another local here, Tommy Danielson, not in the action here at the moment, and already behind in the King of the Mountains after the last climb. He needs to finish in the first 8 riders today to keep his lead. They are under the Nissan lead for 1 kilometer to go now, as Rory Sutherland is closing in on a memorable victory for him, but the battle is still with Levi Leipheimer for yellow.
Well, Levi Leipheimer is catching another rider. That's Tim Duggan, the American national champion, another survivor of the breakaway. He's not bothered at all about his position on the stage here this afternoon, because the man who's the defending champion is thinking about one thing. He's thinking about time.
That's the right turn. You can go straight on for a lot further than where they finished today. This is now the right turn, under 1 kilometer for Leipheimer. Literally every second will count. He won this race by 11 seconds last year, and I bet that's about what he's got this time.
Well, it's going to go down to a very exciting individual time trial tomorrow. This man, Rory Sutherland, was a long way down in the overall standings at the start of the day, but he's winning one of the most dramatic stages of this year's USA Pro Challenge. He's 500 meters to go to the finish, and I can tell him right now, Rory, once you get around those corners, it does start to flatten out. We've reached the easier gradients as TJ van Garderen is on the defensive.
Well, not sure who is actually in second place on the road at the moment, because we've picked off most of the leaders. Dombrowski keeps on applying pressure at the front. This hasn't been a great climb by TJ Van Garderen. He's just trying to limit his losses rather than gain time. He's gambling on a big time trial tomorrow. 200 meters to go. It's time to do the zip up and get ready for the salute. And I think this will go down, even though he's had a illustrious career since 2002. Rory Sutherland, I think, is about to get the biggest win of his career. As he turns into the line, wait for the two-arm salute here. An Australian at home on Flagstaff Mountain in the United States as he comes home in first. So, don't go any further, Jared. Rory just about stopped before he went off the mountain there. Now, Paul, the race for the yellow jersey is on. As we're just watching one more rider coming up here from Kazakhstan, and this will be
Fabio Aru. Going to come up to get second place again, a survivor of the breakaway. The next man to come in will be George Bennett of New Zealand. He will get third place. He survived here this afternoon. But I would expect the next rider to come around that corner and into the crowd is going to be Levi Leipheimer. The yellow jersey there on the shoulders of TJ Van Garderen. We're looking around the corner to see if he's with anybody else. This is Levi Leipheimer. We need to now start looking at the clock.
The clock will start now. 42 seconds is the gap to Leipheimer. Now it's counting down. Once 8 seconds go by at 50 seconds, it is true. Levi Leipheimer is the new leader of the USA Pro Challenge, but it is still only seconds in it.
This is Christian van der Velde. The man missing from this group is the yellow jersey. There's Vincenzo Nibali, but the yellow jersey, TJ Van Garderen, feel cracked in the final kilometre of this climb.
I feel the pressure is too much. He really, and as TJ comes across the line there, he is out of the yellow and down into third place and possibly even further. We'll find out. But there will still be only seconds in this. It can all be corrected tomorrow in what is now going to be an incredible time trial in Denver.
Well, talk about writing a script and keeping the suspicion of the suspense in there right down to the final moment. I don't think you could write a better script than the one we've just written here this afternoon. It will not be decided, this race, until the final mile, the final kilometre of the time trial tomorrow around the city of Denver.
Well, there is Danielson coming in, and I suspect he is out of the Nissan King of the Mountains red jersey, and that competition ends right now here on Flagstaff Hill. So the expected favourites have had a tough climb up their favourite playground today. The rest were holding in something special.
We'll talk about a clever rider by Levi Leipheimer. He sat in the field the whole week. He let all of these youngsters do battle open out on the open road, and he knew in the back of his mind that the decision would come on Flagstaff Mountain, and he made his biggest, probably his only effort of the whole race to the summit of this climb today.
Well, the best kept secret of this race today all week was Levi Leipheimer. He's played low-key. He's never lost any time. He's allowed the infighting to develop against two rival American teams. And he waited for the climb today, which means here he is circling around, saluting the crowd. But it means tomorrow, Paul, he's going to go out last in the time trial. And that's the best position if you want to win the race.
Big advantage to start in last position because you have the times of all the other riders in front of you. You can drive, you can judge your race on the riders that you know you need to try and beat. So TJ Van Garderen, who thought that he was going to come out of this race still in the overall lead, is going to have to do something very, very special in that time trial if he wants to win this bike race overall. He was third overall in this race last year, and even Christian van der Velde snuck a few more seconds away from TJ Van Garderen before the summit of this climb.
And one has to pose the question, is there anybody else left anywhere else in the state of Colorado? Because between the top of the Lee Hill Road through Boulder and up here to Flagstaff, there have been tens of thousands of people. 3.5 minutes gone by now as the riders come home, but the big three are in. I just need to know if Rodney was anywhere in that group, and I'm not too sure he was, or Yanni Brakovic, because they would upset the overall, but we'll wait and see for the judges to send us the finishing order there.
Well, what a final couple of miles that was on that climb up towards the summit this afternoon, and that has turned the overall standings upside down. As you've said, Phil, on so many occasions over the last 4 days of racing, we've had everybody basically locked in at exactly the same time. Today is the first time that the race has been turned upside down.
This looks like Colorado coming in here, so he lost a bit of ground, didn't score any points on the last climb, but he is in the lead, and that will mean he has won that competition. Out on the Lee Hill Road, there is Christian Vande Velde. Let's have a look at his face. There's a nice little smile. I would think that he's probably up to second place in the race right now, exactly where he finished last year. 11 seconds behind the man who's just wiped him out again today, Levi Leipheimer.
But now it's all about the individual time trial. 9.5 miles, flat individual time trial around Denver. There's his dad.
It's his dad, John, there. They were discussing immediately time gaps, as they would. They've had a good day out for Christian Vande Velde. He's a very calm character, isn't he? And lets all the controversy go around him, just let his legs do the talking.
Absolutely. Peter Vellet's coming up there in the pale blue jersey. There's George Hincapie, and listen to the crowd there when they recognise him.
I think the fans would cheer me if I walked up there now, because they're just cheering everybody hitting the top of Flagstaff Hill.
And just at the back of that group, the youngster on BMC, 22 years of age, from Boulder, in the bottom of the climb, Taylor Phinney.
Yeah, well, he did his job well for the team. He led the team through Boulder itself as well. But once the real race got underway, he lost his chance 1 kilometre into the first stage when he crashed. And he lost 12 minutes that day, so his race was done already. But tomorrow, he wants to win the time trial. And we're looking at a man who got 4th place in the Olympic Games time trial at Hampton Court in London during the Olympics a couple of weeks ago. So he'll go out tomorrow very inspired.
And the thing is, he said to me just yesterday morning, Phil, that he feels that the distance for this time trial in Denver is much better for him because it's only 16 kilometres. Well, Rory Sutherland, as you said, getting a very emphatic victory there, and a tough way to get it. You know, it's the 5th race of his career this year anyway. He's had 33 victories. The man of the match has to be, though, Levi Leipheimer. Talk about judging this race to perfection. He waited till the very last minute on the very last mountain.
Well, I think we can show you the stage results now. Let's have a look at it. Here we are, presented by United Healthcare. Rory Sutherland, just over 4 hours and 6 minutes for him. Fabio Aru, his best performance ever. Astana Pro for him. Jens Voigt, how do you do it, Jens? He was 3rd. Leipheimer was 4th. Tim Duggan, the champion of the USA. Great performance for him by 5th. Christian Vande Velde, crucially, at 1 minute and 2 in 6th place. Dombrowski 7th. He'll climb tonight. Andreas Klöden was in 8th. Nibali 9th. But the name we're missing out, and there he is in 11th. TJ Van Garderen will slip tonight, probably to 3rd place overall. We'll work that out for you in just a few minutes. And further down, Paul, I think we can show you just 5 more places.
Well, there's a man you were looking for in 18th place, Ivan Rovny. Chris Horner in 20th place, but look at the gap, 1 minute and 28 seconds behind. But more importantly, he was behind all of the other big contenders.
Well, Flagstaff Mountains had its say today for sure. George Hincapie there is coming over the finish line at the moment, riding no-handed and just acknowledging the crowd as he comes home and up the hill. That's the end of his road racing as a professional. Tomorrow will be the end of his career, as it all ends with a time trial in Denver.
So that will be his last professional race tomorrow. I'm sure he will be feted by a huge crowd in Denver. If today's crowd in Boulder, Phil, is anything to go by, I'm sure all those people who were down there in the city of Boulder will move across to Denver for tomorrow's individual time trial, because there will be a lot of suspense.
Right, so we've seen a battle for second after all of the mountains these riders have climbed this week, including 2 12,000-foot climbs of Independence Pass, Cottonwood Pass, and we're still talking seconds. Slight reversal of the names, though, but it is going to give us a tremendous time trial. It's only a short time trial tomorrow. It's less than 10 miles, which will take the riders around 20 minutes to accomplish. But first of all, let's talk about the winner, and let's go to Bob Roll, who's talking with Rory Sutherland.
Rory, you found the early breakaway. What was the strategy throughout today's stage?
First, I wanted to make it to Boulder, come through and see all like friends and family, and then Then I wanted to help Timmy get up to Netherlands so he could see his friends and family. And then, you know, I had Chris Jones there all day, and he killed himself in the team. We've been working so hard all week. And then, you know, I know this climb well enough that I know that I got to go from the bottom to the top. I know where to go easy. I know where to go hard. I've done it, I don't even know how many times. And it's that is the most beautiful one I've ever done.
I was going to say the domestic teams against the Pro Tour teams very rarely find the stage wins in this week's racing. What does it mean to you guys to get a big stage win here?
Well, it proves that we've been working hard all year. We've been working hard for years. You know, I've been with this organization for 6 years. United Healthcare has done such a great job supporting me personally, my family, the whole team, and we've been building it together. You know, they've been sponsoring all these tours, and, you know, this week's been a really rough week for us. You know, it was maybe harder than we expected, and had some bad luck here and there, and I didn't have the legs most of the week. And last night I clicked my head on. I dreamt all night of the finish line here. I had a terrible night's sleep. I woke up at 5 this morning just wide awake thinking about it, so I thought I may as well just get up and start planning the day.
Safe to say your biggest win to date?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is a 2HC race. It's nationally televised, and, you know, for me personally to win in the town where I live now, you know, on the climb that I know so well and I train on, you know, with my friends and family here, and it's, you know, I don't think we could have asked for anything better than this.
Well, congratulations, Rory.
Thank you very much.
Yes, a very happy man indeed. He comes from Australia, where I saw him grow up. He was the under-23 road race champion of Australia back in 2003. But he's found a very happy life over here, riding on the professional teams. And as he says, he's been with United Healthcare quite a long time. He only had 2 wins with them last year, but that's his 5th win with them this year. And in 2010, he struck 7 times, but he now lives here in Boulder. And that was the way to go today for him. Always difficult, isn't it, when you've got to make the decision to lead all the way up the mountain, because he couldn't wait any longer. That main field was closing in, and they caught all bar 3 of that breakaway today. Well, we'll take a break, as always, and when we come back, we'll be in amongst it. We'll see who is the new leader. We suspect Leipheimer, though. He's done the ride of his life today to get himself right back on top of the podium. We'll see you back here on Flagstaff in just a few moments.
Thank you for the ride. I have a date with pro cyclist Ali Tetrick. I absolutely cannot miss this.
You mean a ride, don't ya?
It's a date, ride. It's a date, yeah.
Shut up. It's not a date, it's a ride.
Road ID. We'll ride with you even when you'd rather be riding with Ali Tetrick.
That's good, eh?
Well, as we look down here, top of Flagstaff Hill, this is one of our GoPro aerial images as the crowd now are milling and waiting for the presentation. We've just seen a big bunch of riders arrive. They didn't climb too fast up the hill. They were happy their job was done today. But we have had confirmation that Levi Leipheimer is the new leader of the USA Pro Challenge, with just the time trial to come tomorrow in Denver. But it's still a blanket over them with only a hatful of seconds. Christian van der Velde and TJ Van Garden. Let's have a look first of all at our Road ID ride of the day, and we've just given it to Levi Leipheimer. I think you'll all agree with that. What a chase. He's played his whole week on the last couple of miles of this mountain to recoup all time lost, take the lead and move out a little bit in head. Just look at the crowd cheering on the man that won this race, the inaugural race 1 year ago. As Levi came up to the finishing line here, he crossed the line in 4th place. The clock started, he was 42 seconds behind Sutherland. So there we have it. Levi Leipheimer is the Road ID ride of the day. If you want to vote on tomorrow's winner, go over to roadid.com/ride and make your vote. This is where the press conference will be held as soon as we get over with the prize presentations. A nice amphitheatre here on the side of Flagstaff. It's been a terrific finish of Tour de France proportioned on this mountain above Boulder. I can understand the local council, they're a little bit worried about closing the roads for a sporting event on what is a very sacred piece of land here, this state park. But I hope they think it was all worth it today. In the end, it was a unanimous vote in favour. And what a great finish it gave us, because Boulder is the cycling capital of Colorado. I hope I'm right in saying that, but I think so. Here they are, the United Healthcare overall standings. Leipheimer now got the lead on the penultimate evening of the race. Van der Velde is second now at 9. He lost the race by 11 a year ago. TJ has gone down to third, 21 seconds. That's not insurmountable in the time trial. Joe Dombrowski, the flyer, who's 21 years of age, up to 4th now. Andres Kloden is in 6th place. Brakovic goes down to 8th. Romney went from 3rd to 9th. Finished 41 seconds off now. Damiano Caruso is in 10th place at 52 seconds. That man can climb as well as sprint. And then we've got, looking further down, Chris Horner holds 13th place. The top 15 completed by Tommy Danielson, waiting for conversation. But I'm a little bit fearsome. He may have lost his victory in the King of the Mountains. So we've got just 13, the baker's dozen, within 1 minute for tomorrow's time trial. That's going to make for a terrific time trial. And it's only about 9 and a bit miles tomorrow, so they should take the winner around 19-20 minutes to accomplish that distance. I think the podium is about to start. So this is the road to nowhere now. We're up on top of the mountain. Just waiting now for the podium. The crowd are the quietest they've been for the last hour. I think we're thanking the organisation, local organisation down there at the moment.
Who brought bike racing after the Coors Classic, the Red Singer, the Coors Classic. Rick is the guy that brought it back to Colorado.
Yes, they're saluting the man who's put all the money in to make this race possible. And the Coors Classic was the predecessor of this event, which was a well-known event. Bernard Hinault came here once with Greg LeMond at the heyday of their career, and Bernard Hinault at the time could not believe, Paul, how Colorado had so many people interested in cycling.
Well, I think if he'd watched the race today, Phil, with the crowds that we saw not only in the town of Lyons, the town of Boulder, and at the top of this mountain, he would also realize and see that this has been an incredible success. As you've said many times, this has got to be regarded as a state made for cycling.
Yeah, absolutely.
For your local organizers here on the Flagstaff finish.
Well, these crowds on getting the bird's eye view right up here on the mountain. All of those thousands of people in Boulder will be watching it now on television. Let's just have a look at that climb once more. This was the bottom, the attack coming inevitably by Jens Voigt, who really went for gold in Boulder. They even cheered him on with some of his favorite private sayings. And then came the move. In the breakaway all day, Rory Sutherland made his bid through this corridor of noise. Then came the attack, which laid everybody low in the chase group, because Levi Leipheimer looked at the others and moved off. First of all, it was the attack from Vincenzo Nibali. They got him back. Leipheimer looked over his shoulder, Leipheimer rather, thought he had a gap and went for it at that point, while at the top, it was a victory for Rory Sutherland. His 33rd as a professional, his 5th this season, his best ever. Aru came over in 2nd place, another great ride for him. The irrepressible Voigt topped the mountain in 3rd. But this was the race for yellow. Levi Leipheimer, 42 seconds later, crosses the line, and then the clock was started. And left by the others was TJ Van Garderen, as Christian Van der Velde raced up to claim 2nd place overall in this race, with the time trial to come tomorrow. He even had the legs to lead them home in the sprint. Nibali tucked in at the back there. So now we can go and see the jerseys presented. Huge cheers here. Levi Leipheimer gets the yellow jersey, and just off our camera I thought I caught a glimpse there of Patrick Dempsey from Grey's Anatomy. Well, Leipheimer, that's how there he is. There's Patrick Dempsey. He's a great supporter of cycling, always has been. Leipheimer in yellow. He kept off the headlines all week and waited for the one moment to pounce. Now, can he pull it off tomorrow in the time trial? It'll be very difficult to get that jersey off his shoulders. He's a very good time trialist. So as we look down off the top of the mountains, the yellow jersey presented there. While we wait now, I think, for the top three. I think I caught sight of Bob Rowley. Maybe he's trying to get hold of Levi there so he can catch a few words. This is the great thing about live television. We don't know what's happening next. So there's the town of Boulder. I can tell you that bit down there. It looks a long way down and below us now, doesn't it, when you see where the top of Flagstaff is. And yes, Bob Rowler's got himself through the crowd. He's now with Levi Leipheimer. Bob.
Levi, brilliant attack on the last climb. It seems like you've been saving up this whole week for today's attack.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take credit for planning it exactly like that, but obviously that was in my mind to do that for the position that I'm in a Mega Pharma Quick Step. The guys with me, they've done, they went above and beyond what they could do this week. We were down a lot of guys, but this is for them. I'm very happy.
Talk about the crowd on the last climb up to Flagstaff. Have you seen anything like it domestically ever?
No. I mean, last year there was some argument to, the crowds in Denver versus the crowds in Tour of California, but there's no argument anymore. Today was unbelievable, and Boulder, Golden, they came out and just crushed it. I'm blown away. I tip my hat to everybody around here in Colorado because they really supported us, and it means the world. Thank you.
And the time trial at the end of a hard stage race is one of your specialties. You're the race leader. Is that an advantageous situation to be in going into tomorrow's stage?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not comfortable. I got some great guys breathing down my neck, but I can tell you I'm very motivated and I'm proud to wear this jersey tomorrow.
Best of luck, Levi.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, well said, Levi, especially on the public aspect there. No, it's not a done deal. Don't ever think it is, and I'm sure he doesn't, because TJ's only 20-odd seconds behind. And this is all Pesnets. We just caught Rory Sutherland off guard there. He's about to get up on the stage here. We've got Jens Voigt on the right. We'll go do it again now for the cameras. Thanks, Rory. And the beautiful hostess is here. Looking very confused on the left there is Aru, the Kazakh rider, who's just been introduced to the crowd. A good congratulations there by Roy to the two men that came up the hill behind him. And that is second career stage win for Rory Sutherland. What a beautiful setting that makes up here on the top of Flagstaff Mountain. He said it, Paul, he said this is the greatest victory of his career, which started back in 2002.
Well, a well-timed move as well, and he still had the suppleness in his legs, Phil, to keep those legs ticking over all the way to the top of the climb. And that's a victory I think he will cherish for a long time, especially when you think about the massive crowd that gathered up here to the top of the climb to welcome home all of the survivors of the USA Pro Challenge this year.
Beautiful extra piece of glass there, engraved Boulder. This is Rory's family because he lives here. They were all watching him. Here's my dad.
I'm sure that his son really quite gets what his dad's just done here this afternoon. Yes, okay, that nice piece of glass. Now let's go back down to the bottom and get an ice cream.
Could be so. There'll be a bit of a while getting down because there's no cars up here, but there's an awful lot of people about to start the descent, that's for sure. Just confirming the stage results. Sutherland got in ahead of Fabio Aru, the Italian on the Kazakhstan Astana team. Jens Voigt in third place. For Radio Shack, Levi Leipheimer. This is a fully international result, this one. And fifth place, the champion of the USA, Tim Duggan. He had a wonderful day out, and he'll have great memories of riding through his hometown in that leading break today. Van der Velde in sixth place, significant for the overall. So too Dombrowski, who's moved up into fourth place overall. And, well, look at this. But he was well placed, and I completely forgot to put him in the calculations. Jens Voigt is the Nissan King of the Mountains. And, boy, does he deserve it, because he got 12 points. He got 8 points for finishing third on Flagstaff.
What a man. You know, this guy is an animator of races. And, yes, I completely forgot about the fact that he was placed on all of the climbs this afternoon. So that's why he's climbed right up the overall standings to get himself not the overall lead anymore, Phil, but the overall victory.
Well, it was the climb of Lee Hill Road that gave him the advantage, and his third place on the mountain certainly gave him the overall win. There is the Nissan final standings in the King of the Mountains. No mountains tomorrow in downtown Denver. 55 points, 52 for Colorado. Danielson went from top to third in this competition. Castablanco went down from second to fourth, and Matt Cook was on their board all week long. He was in fifth place. Over to the Waste Management Sprinters jersey now. Tyler Farrow will breathe a sigh of relief. He's still in this. He was worried about the finishing position, which is where the points are scored, of TJ. TJ didn't have the best ride, Van Garderen, so he's kept his green jersey.
And because of that faltering by TJ Van Garderen on today's stage, it may well give this man a chance to get himself the overall victory in this competition, which normally, Phil, in any of the races we cover all the way around the world, goes to the most consistent rider on the individual stages, and with 2 stage victories, he has a right to be in that jersey.
Yeah, he does. He won't be winning the time trial tomorrow, so now he's in the lap of the gods as to whether he walks home tomorrow night with that jersey. Hi guys, you can come down now. So as we wing around, they wave at our helicopter here. Believe me, these boys are way up in the sky, and it's a long way down from the top there. So we've still got a few more podiums to come. Oh, back to the podium. Joe Dombrowski, the best young rider, and he's also lying now 4th overall in the USA Pro Challenge. We will take another break, and we will be back. So we'll see you shortly. So as we gaze out across the plains of Colorado towards Denver, these are the men who carry the most expensive washing line into the start of the final time trial tomorrow. Joe Dombrowski protecting a 4th place in the Best Young Riders jersey. Chatting there, the winner of the King of the Mountains, sponsored by Nissan. That is Jens Voigt. The new yellow jersey is Levi Leipheimer. The green jersey is Tyler Farrow. And the map premier, the champion of Ireland there, congratulating. Let's have a look then, Paul, at the Evolved Beverages map for tomorrow.
Well, we talked about the flattest stage of this year's USA Pro Challenge. Well, this is the flattest stage. From Denver to Denver, 16 kilometers and 9.5 miles of racing, the individual time trial, the race of truth. And it will decide who will be the final champion of the USA Pro Challenge. And in my mind, Phil, it could still be anybody as we finish in the shadows of state capital.
What a showdown it will be in Denver tomorrow. And don't forget, tune in tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern for the 2012 US Pro Challenge recap show on the NBC Sport Network. And tomorrow, don't miss the final stage. Extended coverage begins at 2 Eastern right here on the NBC Sports Network, and then will continue at 4 Eastern on NBC itself. And don't forget, for a full schedule and race highlights, log on to NBCSports.com. For all race information, log on to ProChallenge.com. All of our great clothing here in Boulder is provided by Perlizumi. Well done today to our winner, Rory Sutherland. Stay tuned for IndyCar qualifying. That's up next. Until then, from Flagstaff Hill, for Paul Sherwin, I'm going to say goodbye, and we're going to see you at the start tomorrow for a great coverage of the final time trial. It's showdown time tomorrow in Denver. Till then, goodbye.